For much of the past 5 decades, if you asked casual movie fans, what's the scariest movie ever made, there's a good chance they would say The Exorcist. This has remained both the critical and populist pick. A poll of Rotten Tomatoes users placed it at number 1 scariest movie ever as recently as September of 2022. The reasons for its sustained popularity are clear. The piece exudes the perfect combination of stunningly well-made cinema with visceral terror, and to this day remains shocking and nasty. It has spawned endless imitations, single-handedly creating an entire subgenre of exorcism movies, but none of them have ever gone as far as the original in their attempts to disturb, because how could they? This tale of a young girl getting possessed by the devil has some of the freakiest imagery you're likely to ever see in a film, but as we reach the 50th anniversary of this seminal work of pure evil, the time has probably come to reevaluate it and ask the question, is it still the scary movie heavyweight champ?
Welcome to Kale Your Idols, a new Hollywood podcast with your hosts, Sam Ludwig and Elena Gibson. Hello, Sam.
Hello, Elena. Welcome.
Welcome.
To hell. Yeah.
I'm shaking my tongue back and forth.
Yeah, it was really disturbing me. I don't know. I'm a little bit frightened.
This is the first time that we're recording where we're facing each other. Mm-hmm. Usually we're just sitting next to each other, but
sort
now
of cocking our heads back and forth at each other. But now it's like right in the eyes.
And it's weird. I feel like I'm staring deep into your soul and you're staring into mine, and I don't know what you see there.
Well, I feel like I see someone who is pretty pure of heart, maybe going through some time right now where they're feeling a little lost and maybe vulnerable to evil forces, but we can get you back to your regular old innocent self, I think.
Yeah, you got some holy water on you? You ready to sling it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm no Max von Sydow, but, you know, I can certainly fling water droplets on the human body. I've been known to do this.
Have you?
Yes.
That sounds a little dirty.
I don't really know. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so today we're talking about The Exorcist, the original one made in 1973. And then at the end, we are also going to be talking about the new movie that just came out in 2023, The Exorcist Believer.
Yeah, I'll resist the urge to just jump right into The Exorcist Believer talk, because I've got a lot to say.
Yeah, you're very excited to talk about Exorcist Believer.
I really am.
I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say about it.
Do you think you're less excited to talk about it?
No, I'm very excited. It was very fun watching it in theaters with you, because both of us laughed a lot at some parts that weren't supposed to be funny, but we had just watched The Exorcist, so the movies are definitely in conversation with each other.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure, though, if we feel the same way about it.
I'm excited to find out.
Yeah.
Okay, but first, let's talk about the original Exorcist made in 1973, and in order to talk about this one, I think let's go all the way back to the beginning and talk about the novel that it's based off of.
Well, I mean, if you want to go back even further than that, it's actually based on a totally true story.
A completely true story.
Really definitely happened to a boy in the late 40s in a suburb of Maryland.
Yeah, okay, let's talk about the original exorcism that this is based off of.
Well, yeah, I mean, so it was a little boy who, I don't mean to frighten you, Elena, played with a Ouija board and suffered some pretty disturbing stuff. Sorry, I guess, is this weird? Am I mean, obviously I'm mocking the concept of being exorcised or being possessed by a demon, but am I actually just like right now basically mocking a mentally ill child?
This is a really interesting question, because the book The Exorcist is written by William Peter Blatty, and he had heard about this true story of the exorcism, and he wanted to write a book that was specifically about his experiences, and the family said no. The family didn't want their exorcism publicized. So then he wrote a book about a different exorcism, but it clearly still linked. That was the most famous exorcist case.
Yeah, he set it approximately 15 miles away from the original place and changed the gender of the child.
Yeah, so that family received a lot of negative attention because of the novel and because of the movie. And I feel really bad for that family. And now we're doing the same. We're drawing more attention by telling the stories. So I do feel a little bit bad, but also let's tell the story of the original exorcism.
Yeah, no, I don't know much more of the story of the the actual event that it was based on.
Oh, I do.
Oh, you do? I know that he played with the Ouija board, which is the same. That is what brings it upon Reagan in the new one. I was thinking. Sorry, not to jump to the new movie, but like in Exorcist Believer, they definitely kind of bring it upon themselves, right? The possession.
They're like, please possess me.
Yeah, they really are actually like sort of inviting it. And then watching that, I realized Reagan is too, right? The Ouija board is what causes her to get possessed, right? That she plays with this Ouija board she found, right? They don't hit it that hard.
I know.
As they don't hit anything in the original movie quite that hard.
I was thinking about what causes Reagan to be possessed, and I feel like it's a series of events. The first thing I feel like is that Marin, played by Max von Sydow?
I think it's Sydow.
Sydow.
I don't know. I could have looked this up, but who fucking cares? He's only one of the best actors of all time that we both deeply love and have seen in many Bergman films.
Anyways, if you have seen the original movie, it opens with this prologue, and there's this priest who is on an archaeological dig, and he uncovers an artifact that they mention is evil. So I think that's the initiating thing.
It's very confusing.
It seems like maybe Marin unleashes the demon, and so then the demon's out there. And then it's the Ouija board that invites it specifically into Reagan.
Right. I mean, the Ouija board could just be like she played with the Ouija board, and that was the first inkling of the demon, of Captain Howdy coming to possess her.
Right, like he was,
or something.
He was already there.
Right, and that's just like
the way it started communicating with her.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But no, with Marin, it's so weird. He's on this archaeological dig, which is like, I guess this is how people perceived, like that's what priests did back in the late 60s, early 70s. And people come to him and they're like, they found something, but they haven't dug it up. They haven't dug it up yet.
And it's tiny.
It's a tiny little thing, and it's like emanating like the 2001 monolith.
Yeah. Is there like just a person on the dig who's like that type of dog that can sniff truffles?
Yeah.
Like they can sense demonic presence?
Yeah, I mean, presumably. So it's like Sydow then finds this tiny trinket that he's like, oh yes, this is a terrible portent. Maybe he unleashed it, maybe it's just as he suspected or something. And then he goes to another statue, which does seem to be of a demon that he's confronting.
Yeah.
There seems to be an actual statue of Pazuzu or something.
Right.
The Iraqi prologue, by the way, I know we're going to get back to the Exorcist, is this very interesting thing. It's clearly meant to be like saying this is a land where religion rules as opposed to the secular United States, right?
Oh, interesting. I was thinking of it as very much one of those situations where other equals evil. Like it just seemed like a evil place because...
No, I didn't think that.
He sees a guy with a weird eye. There's a woman who almost runs him over and she looks like this old crone. It just seems like there's creepy place. And clearly the new Exorcist the Believer, it makes you think it's doing that, but then it does the opposite. And we'll talk about that when we get there. We'll definitely compare the prologues. But yeah, I don't know. I got the sense that they were trying to make you feel a little creeped out with the prologue in the original movie.
You're probably right that there is a certain amount of Orientalism and sort of exoticism going on.
Right.
But I do think that, like, walking past these lines of men doing the daily prayers and just sort of the way everyone's dressed and stuff, I think it is meant to imply this is a world where they have not forgotten the presence of good and evil and religion. And,
That actually made me think of something I noted in my notes, but I didn't know what to make of it, that there is a lot of creepy background tones in the prologue, except when he's walking by the men who are praying, and then it gets suddenly silent.
Yes.
And I think that's kind of what you're talking about, where it's an early indication that religion can repel that evil tone, that evilness that's surrounding them.
Yeah.
And that in this, like in Iraq, because religion's so present there, maybe they're more protected. Yes.
Or now you're making me think maybe it is just like they are so close to this hellmouth because like they're digging up archaeological digs and stuff that they have to stay super devout to keep it at bay and stuff. And it certainly doesn't present this as like it presents it as a society that's not doing very well. True. So it's not necessarily saying like religion makes life better. Makes life better. So it's complicated.
It is.
We'll get into this. I would say it's complicated view that it is presenting of religion in the film. But
no,
anyway,
it's very complicated.
Back to the original inciting true incident that they based this movie and book on.
All right, it's the best documented case of exorcism
just the
in
very
history.
best. Just the absolute top of the line exorcism case as documented.
Okay, so this happened to a 14-year-old boy in Mount Rainier, Maryland in 1949. The first thing to note about this case is that this 14-year-old boy was very close to his aunt, who was a self-professed medium, who taught him how to use the Ouija board and told him that the souls of the dead could make contact with the living. Mm-hmm. So this is very different from the Exorcist movie, because this boy already had a concept of the dead contacting him.
Yes.
So the issues first started when the family noticed scratching noises and they wrote it off as rats. The next thing that happens is that the boy's aunt dies. Some suggest that maybe there was an inappropriate relationship between the aunt and the boy. Then the disturbances increased. Mattress shaking at night, more scratching, thumping sounds, which seemed to respond to the name of the aunt. And the boy started having words scratched onto his body. The words Lewis, Saturday, and 3.5 weeks.
So this is not raised brands coming up out of his skin. These are just scratches on his body.
There's scratches on his body.
Yeah.
Spelling out words. So the type of thing that he could have inflicted himself.
Yes, or somebody else could have inflicted.
Yes.
Right.
But if you scratch yourself, it does raise up out of your skin. That's what it looks like when you initially scratch yourself.
No, but in the movie, though, they're pressing out from inside the skin. It's a bit of a different effect.
Yeah. It's without question demonic and not just her scratching it on herself.
Yes, it's somewhat less easy to write off.
Yeah, so it was a little bizarre, the words Lewis, Saturday, and 3.5 weeks, but the family felt like it was instructions, and so they went to stay in St. Louis, and that's where the aunt had lived and died. So they went to St. Louis, and it was just this whole convoluted thing where they somehow realized that what was happening was that the dead aunt was possessing the nephew and was trying to convey instructions that she had left behind money that she wanted to be given to her daughter.
Okay.
So it was just kind of this convoluted thing where that's why they thought the aunt was possessing this boy.
Yeah, I don't know if I see a movie there.
But all this crazy shit happened. Like they had multiple seances and multiple exorcisms.
But this was a good possession, right? Like, as when does the bad stuff and like your mother sucks cock in hell happen? Like, I mean, this sounds like a net win for everybody. They got to help his cousin.
Well,
get some money.
During the exorcism, the boy spat in the faces of the priests, attacked a priest with a broken bed spring, and slashed his arm.
Why would you want your lovely aunt to get driven from your body if she's possessing you? I'm serious. No, this aunt, I mean, like...
He did love the aunt.
He loved I mean, yes, we don't know if there was an inappropriate relationship, and yes, if it was, in fact, an inappropriate relationship, then yeah, I guess it's a good idea to exorcise her from his body. But otherwise, this isn't the devil or Pazuzu.
But if she's
this is a close relative.
If the way that she's conveying instructions to him is by scratching him, I mean, that seems like a toxic relationship.
I guess so.
To me.
I guess fair enough. Yeah, that's not acceptable.
Just use the Ouija board.
No matter how much money is involved. Yeah, just use the Ouija board. That's true. Okay, fine. You've convinced me the exorcism should have been granted.
There were multiple exorcisms, so it was way more than just one. So the other things that happened is that he farted a lot. He spoke in a guttural voice. There was an unbearable stench. He mimed at masturbation. This is my favorite one. He sang with peculiarly... Wait, I can't say that word.
Give it another shot.
Peculiarly... It was peculiar how accurate his pitch was. He sang in a way with perfect pitch.
Wow. Okay. Again, this is mostly sounding okay.
No, there were lots of bad stuff I said a second ago.
I think farting is unduly persecuted in this society, personally.
Okay, yeah, so boy sang with accurate pitch. This was
terrifying.
That was in the Exorcist book.
Yeah.
A possessed girl singing with accurate pitch, but not in the movie.
Right.
Because that's stupid.
Yeah.
He urinated copiously while screaming that his penis was burning. And he had more welts turn up on his body, some of which formed the words hell and go, and image of the devil appeared on his body.
Wow. Like a detailed image, or like just sort of a
like a
basic
cartoon
tattoo level.
I'm going to guess cartoon tattoo level.
Yeah, all right.
Many of the boys' rantings were of a sexual nature, which is why they
see.
think maybe it was an inappropriate relationship between the aunt and the boy. Although the boy, this was only a thing that happened at night. During the day, he was totally lucid. The exorcisms did not work.
Yes.
He ended up in a mental institute.
Okay.
And then eventually he announced, Satan, Satan, I am Saint Michael, and I command you, Satan and the other evil spirits, to leave this body.
He exorcised himself?
He exorcised himself.
Whoa.
He exorcised himself.
That would be a twist.
He made that announcement, and then the disturbances stopped. And it was determined that he probably didn't actually have a possession. Like, he probably was not actually possessed.
Yeah, they were like fully believing it until he exorcised himself. And they're like, you can't do that. Everyone knows that's bullshit. Okay, never mind. Let's all go home.
It's hilarious because it was described as a psychosomatic disorder with some kinesis action. Mm-hmm. They were like, he's just got a little bit of telekinesis. That's all.
Yeah.
It's just hilarious, the idea that them being like, no, it wasn't anything like magical. It's just a little bit of telekinesis.
Right. A lot of this is kind of like, sounds like a poltergeist, right? Where there's just like mysterious things happening and furniture moving around and stuff. And it's like, it's not, the boy isn't all just doing weird stuff. It's like some just like weird noises and invisible forces around. Like that just sounds like a regular old poltergeist. And I know that there's more of those recorded than there are possessions. I read that in my like how to catch ghosts book that I would read. I would check out at the public library as a kid.
Wait, so do you believe in poltergeists?
Absolutely not. Of course I don't believe in poltergeists.
Because you're not crazy.
No, I don't believe in poltergeists. But there have to be, like, I know that there are cases of poltergeists and stuff that are beyond just simple demonic possessions.
Yeah, my neighbors, one of them was convinced that they had a poltergeist or something.
Everybody fucking believes in ghosts.
Yeah,
but everybody knows tons of people who are so ready to tell you about a ghost experience they had.
I have definitely had many people try to tell me about their ghost experiences.
And I just have to say, I will try to be succinct here, but something that, and The Exorcist certainly exemplifies what I'm about to explain. Something that bothers me in a lot of movies in which magical things happen is they try to present this vision of the modern world that we live in where, like, oh, everybody's a strict materialist and nobody believes in magic. And if you feel like you're seeing some sort of bizarre phenomena, everybody you talk to will sort of look at you like you're crazy or scoff at you and stuff. Whereas in real life, all you have to do is say, I walked into a room and, like, a light turned off or something, and people will be like, yeah, I know, it's a ghost, right? In real life, I do not feel this sense of, like, oh, nobody believes in anything anymore, and we're all just so blind to the magical forces. Everybody is dying to see magic in I mean, not everybody, but a lot of the population in America is so ready to see magic in stuff that is rather light on evidence, I would say. I've always wanted to see a movie where somebody is basically, like, getting other people into their delusion incredibly easily, the way that I know in real life a lot of people go along with people's delusions.
Well, that's one thing about the new movie, The Exorcist Believer, is that as soon as the girls start being possessed, the mother of the one girl who's Baptist, is that what she is? She's very religious.
Well, they're a version of Catholic, I think, though. Or maybe they're just another denomination that has some version of communion, because they definitely have...
Oh, that's true.
Stuff, but there's different denominations that have, like, oh, yeah, no, it's like, we're not Catholics, but we do literally believe in transubstantiations. And then other ones that are like, well, of course we don't literally believe in transubstantiation, but we still do communion, of course. There's all sorts of different ones. And, again, spoilers will ensue later on for the new Exorcist Believer, but suffice it to say, the forces that work against the evil one in the new movie are an interfaith coalition.
Yes.
And so I know that there's some Catholics, but and other non-communion giving churches, but I think the implication is there's Catholics and then there's also, like, other Christians who serve communion. Yes, the mother is the mother in the new one is very ready to believe.
Yeah, as soon as the girls start showing symptoms, the mother is instantly like, "Oh, it's possession."
Right.
So she's kind of what you're talking about instantly believing.
Yes, and the subtitle of the new movie should be a clue as its basic difference in the stance of what part religion plays in, like, or how seriously you take the religion having an impact on how effective the exorcism is.
Yeah, I guess that's true, because in the original movie, there is this question of faith with Father Karras, but it seems like the exorcism is still working, even though he's not totally on board in the beginning.
Right. It doesn't seem to matter whether you believe it or not.
Whereas in the new movie, that's not the case.
Yeah, and again, also, like, Reagan is not Catholic. They appear to have no religion. Chris, the mother in the original Exorcist, is meant to be this worldly actress who is deliberately designed to be this sort of modern woman who would never... She's very cosmopolitan, and she would never believe in anything like this. She was originally designed as Shirley MacLaine, who is friends with William Peter Blatty.
Yeah, and whereas in the new movie, the father, you find out that he is religious but lost that faith. Religious. He was raised religious but lost his faith at some point.
Yes, another trope of religious people religious people in movies that really annoys me, which is like the person who doesn't believe in God, but it's just because they're mad at God. Like they don't believe certainly it's not because there's no evidence, it's just because God did something mean to them, and so then they renounce him or they say they don't believe it. I hate it. Anyways.
Do you hate it because it's sort of representing an atheist, but not really?
Yeah, but it's obviously not a real
atheist for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's not like I feel like I need atheist representation in a movie or something. I just find that is. I mean, I get it. I understand. I'm not. I don't mean to sound so annoyed at the way that religion is used in things. I want to say, like, I am not a believer, but. And in fact, the position that the original Exorcist movie presents on religion, and explicitly does present this, as Blatty will tell you, versus the new one, they both represent different annoying things about religion to me in the real world, but I have no problem going along with them and their logic while watching the movies.
Well, like, since you just brought it up, what does the original one represent?
Well, the original one represents, like, yes, the hardcore Catholic view of God and a sort of, I guess, Miltonian vision of hell and the devil and stuff like that is literally true. And yeah, it's this idea of, like, the only way to prove the existence of God is to show how frightening and real evil is in the world. And they had a Catholic technical advisor who's actually in the movie, who only agreed to be the technical advisor because he was so annoyed that Rosemary's Baby had sort of so flippantly talked about these things. And he was like, this didn't really go far enough as far as showing the reality of the devil and evil in the world. And The Exorcist, the original Exorcist, was meant to show that. And we can talk about how effective or how righteous that cause is, but for me, it works as a piece of entertainment, largely. I have some issues with it. And the religious undertones and the implications never get in the way, in a way that maybe, I guess, if I were to watch a truly faith-based film would annoy me.
This is a good segue into William Peter Blatty.
Yes.
Who wrote the novel. He had heard about this case, we just told you, this exorcism case about the boy. He read about it when he was young, or when he was in college, I believe.
At Georgetown.
Where
this is set.
Yeah. And he viewed this story as, quote, tangible evidence of transcendence. If there were demons, there were angels, and probably a God and a life everlasting. So he felt like an in-depth account of this would present an uplifting work which could help reassure people about the existence of God.
But the exorcism didn't work in that real story. The kid exorcised himself. I mean, I guess he invoked St. Peter, so you say. But it's not like they brought in 2 Catholic priests and the holy water literally proved. I mean, it's not proof at all.
I'm sure that whatever article he read about it presented it in a more convincing way than what I just laid out to you.
Yes, fair enough. Fair enough.
But yeah, he read about it in the Washington Post. I would hope that they would be a little even-handed. I don't know. You read the Post more than I do.
Well, I'm from D.C.
Yeah.
Which, this is a great D.C. movie.
It is a very great
This is possibly the D.C. movie. But anyways, back to Blatty.
So Blatty had read about this, wanted to make a story based off of it. He wasn't allowed to make it directly about the family itself, so he adapted it into a different story. But first, Blatty, let's just talk about him for a second, started his writing career writing comedy novels and screenplays for comedy films. He viewed himself actually as a humorist, and he said after making The Exorcist that he was a little saddened by the fact that he could never really return to being a humorist after that, because The Exorcist totally changed the way people viewed him.
It's too sober and real.
But he wrote a couple novels which had some critical success, wrote some screenplays, then wrote the Exorcist novel in 1971, and it sold poorly until he appeared on the Dick Cavett Show, where he discussed whether or not the devil exists.
Yeah.
And audiences were so taken by that discussion that they bought his book, and it became a New York Times bestseller.
And this book was like one of the legendary books that everybody had a copy of at this point. Like, people in that period, you know, if your parents had books, or if you were just like a sort of a casual person, like The Exorcist was a book that was sort of just, it was ubiquitous. It was inescapable.
It was like maybe Girl with a Dragon Tattoo.
Yeah,
Is that like a more modern equivalent?
Yeah. I mean, the Exorcist, though, is like pulpy, but I read it when I was younger, and I think it's generally considered to be like fairly good. Like, it's not trashy. It's not like a dime store paperback. It's like a pretty well written book. Do
you prefer the movie though to the book? If you're comparing the quality,
I mean, I can't recall the book. I guess I assume the book is better in a way. I wouldn't mind rereading it, but I have no real way of assuming it. But yeah, there's things about the movie. The more I watch it, I love a lot of stuff about it. But the perfunctory nature of the way that it hits some of the plot points does kind of annoy me. We're
gonna get into this in a second. The relationship between Blatty and Friedkin.
Yeah.
Friedkin's the director who made The Exorcist. But there was this push and pull between them the whole time, where Blatty wanted more from all of the scenes. He wanted more conversation about theology and the philosophy behind it all, and he wanted things to take their time a bit more. His original screenplay would have been 4 hours long, his original first draft. But Friedkin just wanted it to go as quickly as possible. Like, he had said something about that he, at the time, kind of felt like a magician who wanted to get off the stage as quickly as possible so that the audience wouldn't realize that he was just doing tricks rather than real magic.
Yeah, this is an effects-driven movie.
Yeah, it is. So he maybe was just feeling a little self-conscious about sitting in the moments a bit. Just because of where he was in his directorial career.
Yeah, I mean, he was kind of riding high at that point. I mean, he just won Best Director and Best Picture.
For the French Connection. That's true, but if that was his first big thing, maybe he felt pressure to keep it going. Maybe he felt like he got away with something with the French Connection, and now it's time to prove himself.
He did get away with something. He shot the car chase very dangerously on the real streets of... is it in New York? That movie?
I have no idea. I remember nothing about that movie.
Yeah, I also remember very little about that movie. And you have watched it more recently than me, and I swear to you, you said you liked it when you recently...
I think that I enjoyed the experience of watching it, but it's one of those movies that just exits your brain as soon as you watch it. That's probably not the case for other people, but for me, it's just like instantly gone, even if I liked the experience.
Yeah, I feel like Friedkin, you know, we've been talking about this, like, so by the way, Friedkin died so recently, entered the spirit realm. And I feel like the thing with Friedkin is he made a series of movies in the 70s that were really the first modern version of their genre. You know, like The French Connection is the first sort of like cop anti-hero, modern, gritty, realistic view of cops and criminals and who's the real bad guy. And The Exorcist is a similar sort of like elevating a trashy genre to a sort of more adult level. And yet some of his techniques and the films themselves, I think, when viewed by modern audiences, can sort of sometimes induce a perplexed, like, well, what's so great about that thing? It does feel a little bit of like a he got there first kind of thing. Not to say that I'm a pretty big Friedkin fan. There's a couple of his movies that I really, really love. The Exorcist is half of one of those movies, but it's definitely not one of my... But I respect it. I really respect The Exorcist.
Yeah, it is weird thinking about the the Friedkin movies I've seen. I've only seen 3. I've seen The Boys in the Band, which in some ways might be my favorite Friedkin.
It's up there for me, for sure.
If I'm really thinking about, I don't know, just
memorable
essence.
Experiences.
Yeah, and what Friedkin brought to the table. I mean, well, it's hard to say. I mean, that's like...
It's a play.
It's a play,
Yeah,
so...
Well,
But
you've
it's
seen
just
more...
so daring.
Yes.
In a way that The Exorcist is daring, but it's like, let's just show some, like, horrific sexual violence type stuff.
The Exorcist is insanely daring.
Yes.
The fact that they got away with it, and it's still shocking.
And it's just weird thinking about The Exorcist Believer, where... Okay, so...
It's just not even close.
Yeah,
to being as fucked up.
They try to do sort of a sexual scene where one of the little girls, it's shown for like a second that maybe she's touching herself while sitting in the pews in church. But it's like the briefest shot.
Yeah.
They I'm not saying I want them to show me anything there, but it's just like clearly they were not gonna even attempt to go as far as the original movie.
No, I even noted there's this one part where in the new movie kind of follows the beats of the original Exorcist as far as like, now's the pissing and shitting part, now's the yelling part, now's the desecrating whatever thing. And in the part where it's the first peeing, right? Which in the original movie is like when Reagan comes down to the party and tells the astronaut he's going to die and then pisses on the floor. In the new movie, there's a wetting the bed part. And Leslie Odom Jr., who plays the dad, takes his daughter to the bathroom, and he's like in the original movie, like Chris bathes Reagan,
right?
But in the new one, I was watching it and I was like, oh, like he can't like bathe her because that's weird because he's like her dad, and she's like, and so he's just kind of like, yeah, you got this, and like he like leaves the room and like closes the door and stuff, and then he hears her making a weird rustling. But it's like I was like, yeah, they can't even have that intimacy in this, it's like. Because of what they set up.
Yes, that's true. But one thing I did really appreciate about the new movie is I really liked the medical examination scene in the new movie.
Yes.
And one of the things that they did is they have the girls undergo a pelvic exam. Mm-hmm. In the original movie, there's all these crazy machines that Reagan has to undergo and this like insane medical procedure, which we will talk about for sure. But all of that is like its own demonic presence, sort of. And so they're clearly trying to capture a bit of that in the new movie, but the big scary thing they have to undergo is the pelvic examination, which I really appreciate from a female perspective, you know, because when they stick that thing in you and they jack it up like a car jack and spread your vagina open, it's just like very unsettling, especially the first couple times that it happens. So I really liked that a lot. I liked that the one girl, not the main girl, her dad leaves for that medical examination.
He's like, I'll be out there.
Yeah, but the main girl, her dad, Victor, his name, he stays with her and holds her hand. So I really, really respect the fact that he is a single father with a daughter, and they show that he can be there for his daughter who's going through a sex-related experience. He can still be there for her.
It's true.
And I like that a lot. Yeah, and in the new one, they're all speaking in a way that's trying to be as comfortable as possible, but the way that movie is cut, that movie is pretty frantic, the new one, in a way that's completely opposite the original one. I mean, the original one...
I guess. It's kind of doing that a little bit sometimes.
I feel like the original one clips along, but there's way less scenes.
Than the new one? Well, the new one is the definition of overstuffed, as many people would say.
There's just so many scenes, and the way they cut... And so many events. And then the way they cut that medical examination... There's all these different voices talking at the girls all at once. Yeah. So that's kind of the opposite of the original movie with the medical examinations, but in a way that's still frightening.
Yes, absolutely.
It's just so much like coming at them.
Right.
All right, let's get back. We were talking about Blatty.
Back to Blatty.
One thing I wanted to say is that at one point in his life, in 1958, he pretended to be a Saudi Arabian prince. Mm-hmm. As a practical joke.
Yes.
He was hanging out with his friend. They were going to somebody's house, and his friend on the way over looked over at him and said something like, "Oh, wow, you could you look Saudi Arabian or something like that. And then Blatty was like, oh, let's see if your friends think so.
Yes.
And he pretended to be a Saudi Arabian prince. He said that King Saud has around 30 sons, so who would question another? And at this party, everybody believed that he was really this prince, and Blatty decided to keep it going. And
you got like movie stars and producers and stuff to believe him.
Yeah. Celebrities like invited him over for private dinners.
Yeah, he went
Hollywood.
on a game show. He went on Groucho Marx's You Bet Your Life, and he won $10,000 pretending to be the Saudi prince.
Yeah, I read he won that money, and then after he won that money, he quit his job to write full time, and he never had to work a real job after that because he could just write full time. So
he became that Saudi prince in a way.
He really did.
He manifested that privilege.
Honestly, if he didn't pretend to be the Saudi Arabian prince, we might not have The Exorcist.
That's true, and it's very, very sensitive portrait of Iraq. But by the way, that book that he wrote about his humorous adventures pretending to be the Saudi prince was called Which Way to Mecca, Jack? Which is such a 1960s humorous book title.
I think that book is not just about him pretending to be a Saudi Arabian prince, but also has to do with the fact that he, for a brief period of time, well, I don't know how brief, but for a period of time, he worked at the U.S. Information Agency in Beirut.
Yes.
So
yeah. The title, I think, is implying a certain promise of Middle Eastern hijinks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, who knows what he got up to in Beirut.
Yeah. I certainly haven't read this book. I doubt many people have in the last 25 years, but maybe. I mean, he's a popular writer. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so he wrote The Exorcist.
Wrote The Exorcist, was super Catholic.
Super Catholic. It was a huge hit.
Yeah.
And he sold the rights to Warner Brothers. He was going to be a co-producer. There was another producer attached to it, Paul Monash. But Blatty did some sort of like private investigator type shit. Like I think he broke into the guy's office or something and somehow obtained confidential memos from this guy as proof that he was making changes to the story.
Whoa.
So Warner Brothers was forced to drop Monash along with 5 to 9% of the film's profits.
Is there no commandment against breaking into somebody's office and stealing their material?
Is there a commandment against pretending to be a Saudi Arabian prince?
I guess he could confess these sins.
Yeah, you just go to confession.
To his priest, yeah.
Do whatever you want.
Fair enough, yeah. Fair enough. Fair play to you.
Yeah, so after all of that, Blatty became the sole producer of this movie.
Yes.
And he also wrote the screenplay.
Right. And he sought out different directors.
Yeah, what were the different directors he
he famously he basically went down, he was like, we're in New Hollywood right now, let's see, first off, I'll try Mike Nichols, and Mike Nichols said no, he didn't want to bet the success of the movie on the performance of a 12-year-old girl. Nichols famously regretted this, and instead, his project at the time that he took instead was The Day of the Dolphin, a film you and I have seen.
We have
that
seen
is absolute dog shit.
It's about a talking dolphin.
Yeah, it's about a talking dolphin. It's got a dolphin. It's got a lot of glamour shots of like a dolphin swimming around in a tank. Flipping. Nichols seemed to really think that this would carry an audience's interest. It's got a pretty good performance from George C. Scott and at the center of it, who later was part of the Exorcist franchise.
Oh.
But the dolphin, go on.
It barely
talks. About to defend the dolphin.
The dolphin barely talks, and that's, I think, the big sin of this movie is you're promising a talking dolphin, and it, like, doesn't talk that much until the end, and even then it's very, like, haltingly talking.
The dolphin talking delivers in a way, I would say. I mean, it is quite unnerving and
it's creepy.
It's very creepy. But so, yeah, The Day of the Dolphin is what Nichols chooses instead of The Exorcist. And then he observes the infamous long lines outside of The Exorcist showings, and he was dismayed and was so depressed that he made this flop and piece of shit, Day of the Dolphin, when he could have made The Exorcist. And so he called Elaine May, and it's a very famous story, and he said, I'm so depressed. The Exorcist, have you heard? Have you seen it? People say it's going to be this massive hit. If I chosen that, I would be a rich man. I would be much richer even than I already am. And Elaine May said, oh, stop worrying. If you had made The Exorcist, it wouldn't have been a hit. So don't worry. You're fine, basically.
Man, I really got to listen to some Nichols and May shows or improv because...
It's a good bit.
That's funny.
Yeah.
It's very funny.
It's true. And so then Blatty checks out some various other directors.
I think Kubrick, but Kubrick also wanted to produce it, so Blatty...
Oh, I didn't hear about Kubrick.
That's what I read. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that makes sense. I mean, Kubrick calls this one of his favorite movies.
Oh.
Kubrick famously had very interesting taste, and like there's a lot of movies that he would sort of surprisingly say he really loved. John Borman was another possible director, and he said it was just a movie about torturing a little girl. Like, I don't want to make that.
Who's that guy?
He'd made Deliverance,
okay.
Which is just a very sensitive movie that's not about torturing anybody. Peter Bogdanovich, who I would love to see his version of The Exorcist, but in a billion years, I would have never... I mean, in the early 70s, Bogdanovich seems like he's clearly one of the greatest directors of all time. And
he works well with kids, as we know from Paper Moon.
That is true. He does have a good touch with kids, but they didn't know that. Or...
When did Paper Moon come out?
Paper Moon came out around the same time as this. Bogdanovich is like 1, 2, 3, like 70, 71, 70, 72, 73 are like his three main films. And Blatty attached a note onto the script when he gave it to Bogdanovich, who had no interest in it, thought it was like a disgusting work. And the note that Blatty left said, if you don't make this movie, no one will. And Bogdanovich was like, oh, okay, well, I guess no one will. And then when he gave it to Friedkin, Bogdanovich was pissed and was like, I thought you said that nobody was going to make this movie. Huh?
Bogdanovich just like wanted to feel powerful enough to like crush.
It's kind of a classic Bogdanovich story, I would say. He just wanted to be asked and
he wanted his rejection to mean something.
He did. I mean, he was kind of a dick. Maybe I've got too much Easy Riders Raging Bulls view of these directors, which basically just paints them all as just these huge assholes. Although Bogdanovich does kind of seem like he was generally considered an asshole. Or, I mean, Friedkin was certainly an asshole too, but Bogdanovich seems like he was like it's like an annoying prick in a lot of ways. Look, like just very pretentious.
If somebody says
I love. I'm a huge Bogdanovich fan.
If somebody says that any new Hollywood figure is an asshole,
yeah,
I'm just going to believe that.
Yes, right. I mean, yes, there's no reason to assume that they're not. Although I do have to say, again, in Easy Riders Raging Bull, it's just crazy to like how much he focuses on some things and not on other things. Like he details people's like cheating on their wives so like ravenously, like he's writing these terrible things that people do. And then Polanski's statutory rape gets like half of a sentence at the end of the book. Like he doesn't even mention it. Like he just doesn't seem to think that's very important.
For those of you who don't know, there's this famous book, Easy Riders Raging Bull, which kind of it sets a scene of the new Hollywood era, but in a really splashy
and juicy way.
Yeah.
He seems to have information about Robert Evans's how cocaine affected his erections at different points in his cocaine. Like he seems to have quite a lot of knowledge of very intimate details that one questions how he could possibly know these things.
Yeah.
It's by a guy named Peter Biskin, and all of the people who are in the book say like this book is full of shit. You know, it's whatever. But Broken Clock is right twice a day. I don't know. It's a fun book to read. Okay, I'm sorry.
We're gonna do a journal club, a book report.
Yeah, we're going to do a whole episode just on Easy Riders Raging Bulls and on various other books. But anyways, back to the various directors. Yeah, so you go through those ones, and then you get...
Arthur Penn, right? But he was busy teaching at Yale.
Yeah.
Cassavetes,
wow.
Would that be kind of similar to the way it currently is? Because Friedkin was super into documentary-style realism with his movies, and Cassavetes has that too. I haven't watched any Cassavetes, but from what I know.
Yeah, if Cassavetes cast Gina Rowlands as like Reagan, that would be amazing, and she could maybe do it. But no, yeah, I mean, Cassavetes is more of a indie drama style versus Friedkin, who was at this point known for, as you said, documentary realism. He made some documentaries and was also very inspired by the Greek film Z, which We started watching Z once, and we were both like, "This is boring as fuck." I think we were both like not into it.
But I think it was late at night, and we wanted something to fall asleep to.
Yeah,
it didn't seem like a relaxing movie.
No, it was kind of.
Was it political?
It's political. Yeah, it's a thriller.
Okay. Anyway, so Friedkin. So finally, Blatty settled on Friedkin.
Yeah, who he'd remembered had been a dick to him years ago.
And he was impressed by that.
Yes.
He liked the fact that Friedkin was a dick to him.
Yeah, classic Catholic.
Because Blatty... You're cracking me up with these. Blatty was worried that he'd have a director who would say, oh, yeah, I'll make it the way you want, and then just ignore him and change things without telling him. And so he thought, since Friedkin to his face badmouthed him, that Friedkin wouldn't be doing things behind his back. That later turned out not to be true, and it caused a big rift between them because Friedkin basically barred Blatty from the editing room and made a bunch of cuts to the film that Blatty was really upset about. Yeah. So he kind of did the exact thing that Blatty was worried about. But yeah, that's the reason he picked Friedkin.
But the studio didn't want Friedkin until the French Connection was a huge hit.
Won Best Picture.
Friedkin won Best Director and made him a star of the burgeoning New Hollywood.
Yeah. And another reason why Blatty wanted Friedkin is because he had the documentary realism style to it, and that's what he wanted for his movie. He didn't want it to be made like a horror film. Right. Friedkin and Blatty were on the same page about that. They didn't want this to be shot as if it was a horror film. They wanted it to be shot like they were telling basically like a family drama.
Yeah. What makes this movie great to me is the performances, the production design, the effects, and just the naturalness of the acting and the realness of the performances and the respectfulness, if you will, that this outlandish situation is treated with.
Do you want to talk about shooting? Like what happened on set?
You mean the supposed curse?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, so many things plagued this set. I mean, this was shot for 9 months. I believe Max von Sydow, who in this documentary we watched called Fear of God, wherein almost everybody connected to the production reveals themselves to basically be a believer in the supernatural, except Max von Sydow, who, of course, is this Scandinavian guy who's like, no, it's ridiculous. We shot for 9 months, and, of course, bad things are going to happen if you shoot for 9 months. There's all these deaths connected to the thing. He's like, yeah, it's a year, and you have dozens of people around you. Like, there's going to be deaths that those people know about. But a set burnt down, right, is one thing.
The actor who played Burke, Jack McGowan. Sorry, I can't say his name. Sorry, Jack. Wherever you are. Just kidding. I know where you are. You died, so you're. Do
you want to try and say his name? In heaven?
McGowan. McGowan? It's like a W's and R's. It's really hard.
McGowan?
It's spelled like MacGowaran.
McGowaran.
Good job.
That doesn't sound very hard to say.
I had a lot of trouble with my R's growing up.
Okay.
So W and R together?
Yeah.
That's really difficult.
I'm sorry. He died right after completing his scenes?
Apparently, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that was one of the big, heavy hitters behind the curse.
Yeah. What else was there? I mean, I know there was...
Max von Sydow's brother died.
Right.
In Sweden. It wasn't...
Yeah, and he was just like, that has nothing to do with,
with
this.
Sweden.
Like,
Linda Blair's grandfather died.
A grandfather?
Yeah. I mean, old. Grandfathers are old. They die. Yeah. The actor who played Father Karras, Jason Miller. Oh, Linda Blair is the girl who played Reagan. Max von Sydow is the guy who plays Father Marin. Mm-hmm. Jason Miller is the guy who plays Father Karras, the main priest. His son was struck by a motorcycle. One of the gaffers cut off either his fingers or toes. In the book that I read about The Exorcist, the person didn't know whether it was fingers or toes, but something got cut off.
Damn.
There were on-set injuries for both Ellen Burstyn and Linda Blair. Yeah,
but again, that can be placed squarely at the feet of William Friedkin, who just admitted that he caused these injuries and basically has waved off any blame because he's like, I had them pulled extra hard or done because I wanted to get it over with in just one take rather than injuring them more from taking more takes. But
he said that?
Yeah, that's his explanation.
He did it for their own sake?
Yeah, right, exactly.
So he was an asshole. Supposedly there were 13 incidents total during the shoot, which just contributed to the rumor that there was a curse.
Yes, but again, like Friedkin, like he filmed a car chase on a real street. Like this guy was playing fast and loose. And they were doing crazy effects and doing stuff that had never been done before. They had to have like these 4 like high-powered air conditioners freezing this room so that you could see the actor's breath.
It's so crazy.
And yeah, and at one point like they got in a thing and like moisture had gotten in there and had turned to snow. Like there's like a light coating of snow. Like so just crazy stuff is happening. They're doing all these experiments. You know, they're inventing new techniques and they're doing really violent special effects. So I don't know. It's just, yeah. I mean, it seems like most of these things have an explanation.
But this thing about the rumor, I do wonder how much of it is just Friedkin.
Yeah.
He lied about some things to build up the hype for the movie. Mm-hmm. I don't understand why he did this, really, but for some reason he thought it would add a more mysterious air to the movie if he said that Blair did all of the scenes, like did the voice and did all of the special effects. So he said that there was no body double.
Right.
And this is not true. There was a voice double and a body double, and those 2 women did not get credit in the movie, and it caused this huge dispute. There was this big back and forth between Eileen Dietz, who was Blair's body double. It was called the Great Pea Soup War, because the projectile vomiting, like
right.
it was pea soup that they used for that. The voice actress, in order to do her performance, it involved swallowing and regurgitating pulpy eggs. Yeah. So like she went through hell to get that voice. Which
and they strapped her to a bed too, and like she did the performances full out. The voice,
really, the voice actor.
That's what they say. Yeah,
that's crazy. And watching the movie, I could have sworn it was a dude's voice. No. I had no idea that was a chick's voice.
No, it's a woman. Yeah, she's just doing it, and like her voice almost sounds like that naturally. Like she just like can kind of quickly summon it.
That's crazy.
Her name is I want to shout it. It's Mercedes McCandless, right?
Mercedes McCambridge.
McCambridge.
So yeah, Friedkin kind of lied to build up hype.
Yeah, and
I think maybe he also lied about the rumors too. Like he hyped up the rumors of the curse as well.
Well, because Friedkin wasn't a believer. I think that he can appreciate the religious angle as coming from a genuine place. Whether he agrees with it or not, he could see how seriously Blatty was taking the material.
Yeah.
And that's what he responded to, and that's why he felt like he could treat it with this realism, and that's what the work needed.
Right.
Do you want to talk about some of the effects?
Yeah, let's talk about some of the effects.
So we got to talk about, and this is just such a new Hollywood thing, Dick Smith. You familiar with this guy? Did you read anything about this guy?
No, I don't know anything about him.
Okay. So, as I was watching this, I was thinking about Max von Sydow plays Father Merrin, right? And he was older. I mean, at this point, he'd been working with Bergman since the mid-50s and stuff. But he was aged up. He certainly wasn't this old, decrepit man that he plays in the movie. And it's subtle old age makeup, but they do age him up. And I was like, I was just thinking, I was like, man, this is really like the blossoming of old age makeup. This is like a period of time when I feel like this Hollywood obsession with aging up actors really began. Because I was like, this is just after The Godfather, you got Brando being aged up. It's shortly after Little Big Man, when Dustin Hoffman's famously aged to be 120 years old. And you got this, and I was like, what is going on? And then those were all designed by Dick Smith, who is basically this pioneer in prosthetics. He sort of invented this concept of special makeup effects. And he pioneered these from the basement of his home in New York. And previous to him, prosthetic face masks were normally made in a single piece, right? Wow. And so somebody would just put on a mask. But Smith made them in 3 foam latex pieces. And this allowed the actor to actually make facial expressions, right? So he is the guy who's basically single-handedly creating, I think, the craze of old age makeup. It's this one guy who's relatively, I'm sure a lot of film historians know about him, but yeah, I mean, it's you could completely just point it all in his direction. Like he's the father of this, I would say.
That's a crazy amount of influence to have.
Yeah, right.
So we have him to thank for like Harrison Ford in the most recent Indiana Jones movie with the de-aging.
With the de-aging?
If you age up, then it serves to reason that would also inspire people to age down.
I don't even think... Wow, God, that's crazy. Well, I mean, like, I feel like this old age makeup thing is not as popular anymore. Yeah, like now I guess it is. We have gotten to the point where people don't seem to want to age up anybody. They just want to age down people because they don't trust young people to play older as much as they trust established, older actors who are the only movie stars that we have anymore now to de-age. That's kind of an interesting, disturbing trend.
When was the last good age up? Didn't they do it in Vice?
Yeah, that's true. They got a lot going on. They got that going on in Vice. And yeah, but it's like, I feel like it started getting made fun of at a certain point. Like it was like people thought it was cool in the early 70s.
Well, honestly, I feel like it looked way better in The Exorcist than it did in Vice.
I mean, I don't think it looks bad in Vice. I just think that people are so like weirdly annoyed now at like actors acting. Like people like fucking hate the idea of some actor working really hard and pretending to be a thing that they're not. Like, I don't know. And I mean, it is funny when people play old in the same way that it's funny trying to watch Robert De Niro play young in The Irishman.
But the thing with Max von Sydow is that I don't feel like he was trying really hard. We just
looked up how to pronounce that. I feel like I have to say that. Like, this can't just suddenly be a thing where, like, now we start pronouncing it Max von Sydow and don't say anything.
We've been doing it this whole time.
Yeah,
we're doing it right.
We're trying to gaslight certain listeners. Anyways, we just looked up how to pronounce it, and I was wrong, I guess.
It's Sydow. Anyways, so Max von Sydow, I don't feel like he's playing up this, like, old guy.
I don't know. I think he is.
I guess he's, like, shaking, picking up his magic pills. Yeah. What is that when people on screen take a pill?
When they take a heart pill. It's nitroglycerin or something, right?
I have no idea. Gosh. It just seems to magically make them better.
Well, it does. It's like something like giving somebody an aspirin when they got...
But it, like, instantly works.
Well, so does Tums. Some medication works. Stop being so anti-medic. I know that you think that everybody's just pretending to get better when they take their pills.
Yeah, I don't believe in science.
Yeah, Elena doesn't believe in science in pill form.
This is a joke. I'm a scientist, so of course I believe in science.
That would be funny if people were just anti-pill. Like, I believe in vaccines, but just I don't believe in pills.
I couldn't swallow pills for a large portion of my life.
Yeah.
And I hated it. I'd have to crush up the pill and mix it in a spoonful of jelly and swallow it, and it was disgusting.
Why jelly? Is there nothing else?
I think that my dad prepped it for me like that one time, and then from then on I was like, I didn't like it, but I was like, this is how you do it. You put it in jelly. You can't do peanut butter. Peanut butter is what you do for dogs, right? Because they like peanut butter. But if you're a human and you try to do it, it just sticks to your mouth. You need something that slips down your mouth quickly. So jelly's slippery.
Why not creamed corn?
Why not creamed corn? You're right. I should just go out. That sounds disgusting.
Are you kidding me?
I would
you
never
don't like creamed corn?
No.
You don't like creamed corn?
I don't think so, but I also don't know if I've ever had it.
You've never had creamed corn?
It sounds so gross.
It's delicious.
No, it sounds like somebody like chewed up a bunch of corn, spat it out. Like, what's that called?
No, Elena, that's what it looks like. That's not what it sounds like.
Okay, you got me there. I'm hearing you say the word creamed corn. It's going through my ears. It is
I do love bringing up creamed corn. It is one of my favorite like joke foods or things to mention. Like
you do this often?
I do, and then that's why it came so readily to my mouth when I just was thinking of things you could mix your pills up into. Anyways, creamed corn is kind of like a thing that might come spurting out of old Reagan's mouth.
Yeah, I guess we have to talk about the vomiting.
Yeah, we have to talk about the vomiting, Elena. You gotta face your fears.
I have a very extreme phobia to throw up. The phobia is for if I am throwing up, or if somebody else is throwing up, or if I see throw up in a movie, or if I read about it in a book, any of it, or if I just hear it, all of it is terrible. All of it makes me extremely anxious.
Yes, and being with Elena now, I now realize just how many movies and television shows have throwing up in them. It is kind of come to, in my mind, be associated with like lazy writing.
Exactly.
Because it's so common. Like, and I never really thought about it. And to be honest, I feel like many times I've dreamed of scripts to write, and I kind of always want to casually put in a throw-up scene. But I kind of like throwing up.
But hopefully...
And I am a sort of a pro throw-up person.
That's disgusting. And
I'm sorry,
I don't even want to, like,
I think it's a good thing. I think it's generally a good thing to do if you feel you need to do it. But we don't need to go into it further than that.
I don't want to talk about that.
Okay.
But I fully agree that it's lazy writing. Not in The Exorcist, but it's often used... Here are the different ways that it's used. If somebody's drunk and you want some sort of effect, it could be comedic, or it could be like, oh, they gotta like switch their life around or whatever. Just some sort of like negative outcome from drinking. Yeah. Or if something really traumatic or awful happens to somebody, throwing up is a good it's a nonverbal way to indicate that they are extremely bothered.
I did one of those in a play once.
Ew. Did you guys like show it? Don't tell me.
No. It was like I had a breakdown and like I started like crying and then like I threw up into a trash can, but you couldn't see it.
Gross.
Or it indicates pregnancy.
Oh, yeah, that's the other thing. Pregnancy. It's such a... If those other two things don't apply, and if it's a female, then it's like, she's pregnant. Yeah. And yes, I think that's all very lazy. Yeah. Because that's just what everybody does for those.
Anyway, so Reagan pukes in his face.
Yeah, I was very nervous about watching The Exorcist because of this. Mm-hmm. But you had assured me that it did not look realistic. Right. And I do have to say, there's no sound effects with it that are usually... So, like, there are sound effects, but it's not like the, like, regurgitation sound effects. I feel like she just opens her mouth.
It's like a hose sound.
Yeah. And that's because the special effects was actually, like... They put, like, a tube inside her mouth to squirt out the split pea out of her mouth. Right.
Jason Miller, the guy who plays Karras, there was this whole controversy where, like, they had told him, like, oh, it's just gonna get on your jacket. And they didn't tell him that it was gonna hit him in the face.
They, in fact, rehearsed it with it getting on his jacket.
Yes, right. And like, they didn't tell him that it was gonna get on his face. And so he was, like, genuinely, like, upset and pissed off. But I'm like, dude... Come on, man. Like, that's so much better if it gets in your face. Come on. That's obviously better for the movie.
No, I hate this thing that
they should have told him.
Directors,
Yeah, they should have told him, for sure. But, like, really you should also, like, be aware that that's a possibility.
But they did it on purpose.
They did.
They were like, let's get him in the face and not tell him so he's more surprised about it.
Friedkin was... kind of a monster. We talk about in a future episode the concept of, like, slapping an actor to get a response, and there was a very famous example of this in this movie where, like, Father Dyer, who's a real priest in real life, was not pulling off his big final scene where he gives the last rites to Damien, and after like 15 takes, and he was like very tired and stuff, and Friedkin just goes to him and says, "Do you trust me?" And the guy playing Father Dyer is like, "Yeah," and Friedkin smacks him and he's like, "Okay, go and do it." And he was, like, so upset, and, like, his hands shaking, and they got the scene and stuff. And apparently, like, a number of the people who were watching who were Catholic were, like, horrified at this. And they were just like, how dare you stop a priest? But Friedkin would do that, and he would fire guns on set. And he was doing stuff to fuck with people in a way that is truly, like, you can't endorse this.
Wait, we have a friend who knew Father Dyer and said... that story was true, except that Friedkin didn't ask, do you trust me first? He just slapped him. I hope I'm getting that story right.
And it's like, what's better or worse? Like, it's like if you say, like, do you trust me? And then you deliberately betray that trust. Right. Like, or you just slap somebody. I don't know what I think of either, but he knew what he wanted. And what he wanted to do was fire guns next to people's heads in order to make them seem freaked out on screen.
Yeah. Rest in peace, you dick.
By the way, you've also seen Blue Chips by Friedkin.
Have I? What's that? Is that a sports movie?
That basketball movie with Nick Nolte and Shaq and stuff.
Did I like it?
We thought it was interesting. You know, it's an interesting piece.
I feel like I'm always down for a sports movie.
Yeah. Same. No, and that
fun.
was... Friedkin, played high school basketball and apparently, was good enough to potentially go to college for it.
Oh.
Which is why he was good. And, Blue Chips is a very, insidery kind of real take on the world of college sports. So he was sort of an interesting match for that. But Friedkin, a beloved filmmaker. He made several movies that I think, are widely regarded as pretty great. For me, I love Boys in the Band. I love Cruising. I think The Exorcist is really cool. I haven't seen Sorcerer, which a lot of people think is his best movie. But, he is one of these tales of New Hollywood, of these guys rising to astronomical heights and then hoisting themselves on their own petard a little bit. And he was very difficult. He went over budget and had a lot of elaborate dreams of what he wanted to do with various movies. And at first, they seemed to be working out, and then they didn't. And he kind of lost the studio's faith and spent the rest of his career a little bit on the outside of where he wanted to be, feeling a little bit regretful, I think, for the way that he acted when he was on top in New Hollywood.
Although one thing that is different about Friedkin from other New Hollywood directors of the time is that I saw this thing from somebody on Twitter who had worked with Friedkin, who said Friedkin was very responsive to studio input and genuinely wanted to make hits. And he was more of a craftsman type rather than an auteur. And he had said things like, I'm not a thinker. When I hear that a movie is by someone rather than for someone, I smell art. And he also said, people only go to movies for 3 reasons: to laugh, cry, or be frightened. And there are only 3 reasons to make a movie: to make people laugh, to make people cry, or to frighten them. So that is pretty different from the other auteur directors that we often talk about in this time period.
Yeah, I would say that style is a little bit more difficult to discern with Friedkin. He's maybe sort of more like a Lumet, but maybe with a little bit more of an ambitious, wanting to take on challenging... I think of Friedkin as... you really associate him with sort of elaborate set pieces, I think, and effects, and sort of pushing what you can accomplish on screen forward, I think.
Both with effects, but also daring to show stuff.
Rather cavalier about showing characters that are really fucked up, anti-heroes. He, very characteristic of the time period, was always into downer endings. Most of his movies end somewhat unhappily. The Exorcist, even, which ends with a triumph for the forces of good over evil, he cut out the sort of optimistic ending scene that Blatty was always really pissed off about.
Blatty wanted it kept in there, and he was pissed off that the scene was cut.
Yes, because he felt like it made it too much of a downer. Like he said, it felt like it had too much of this aura of like, oh, you defeated the devil, but he still ruined everything, and there is no hope.
But the ending that he wanted gives you the impression that Father Karras, who just died, that his spirit lives on.
Yeah, and right, exactly, and it's like got this like very backslapping sort of moment of friendship between the Lee J. Cobb detective character and Father Dyer.
Yeah.
Which you could say is a little hokey, but it's also, it gets to involve possibly my favorite character in the film, which is Lee J. Cobb's character.
He's so great.
I can't remember. He is so good. He fucking murders his, 2 scenes that he's got in the thing.
He's so good.
When he's, asking for the autograph.
Oh, yeah.
For Chris, he just plays that when he's like, okay, it's for me. He's just so human and so real. And
we're talking about the lieutenant character.
The lieutenant, the movie-obsessed detective. And I do want to talk about that. I don't know if we've missed anything else, but the concept of movies and spectacle, which I think is at play in The Exorcist.
Definitely. We were in the middle of talking about special effects.
Yeah, which is part of that, you could say.
Let's do a quick tangent. Let's talk about the spectacle of movies.
Yeah, well, so it's about Chris McNeil is the mother of Reagan, the possessed girl.
Yeah.
And Chris is a famous actress, right?
Yeah.
She's on location shooting a film in Washington, D.C. They're in a rented house, right?
I think that is an important thing about the movie, aspect about the movie, that it's not their house, because that makes it more realistic that they would just find in the Ouija board in the closet, or that they wouldn't know about the rats.
Yeah.
So I do think it is important that it is a house they are unfamiliar with and new to.
Yes.
And one interesting thing I read, Blatty, so he grew up in a single parent household with just his mother.
Both him and Friedkin famously both had mothers who were saints.
Oh.
They both just absolutely loved their mother. And was it Friedkin or Blatty who'd become obsessed with trying to contact his mother after she died?
I have no idea,
Doing
but that
seances?
sounds like a Blatty thing.
Yeah. Anyway.
Friedkin doesn't believe, right? So
I don't think so. I don't know. I gotta double check that. But yeah, they that was one thing they really bonded on, is they both had mothers that were just salt of the earth, absolute, like the greatest woman who ever lived, kind of thing.
Well, Blatty's mother didn't sound that. They struggled a lot financially, and he lived in like 28 different addresses. It's crazy because they couldn't afford rent.
They would get evicted every month.
Yeah, so
they would move into a place and just get evicted immediately.
Very destitute circumstances, but that whole backstory of being a single parent household and moving addresses a lot. I mean, I feel like that definitely comes into play with this.
Yeah.
Reagan only has a mom who's present. It's a new house. But her mom's much more successful and financially well off than Blatty's mother.
Yeah, and it's like they're very close. It's not like she's not the mother from A Little Night Music or something like that where she never sees her. It's like they hang out. Her dad is seemingly also an actor. He's like in Italy or something. It feels like very plot devicey, like that they just add in that the dad is a deadbeat dad because...
It doesn't really add anything.
Well, no, it's just, you are sort of wondering, who else knows about this months-long ordeal where the daughter's possessed and she's mutilating herself? Like, so does the dad just, never know about what happens?
Yeah, that's crazy. He's really out of the picture.
Yeah, they go out of their way to be like, there. No, he wouldn't even care. If he knew, he would just be so checked out of it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But anyway, so the mother's an actress, right?
Yeah.
She's performing in a reactionary film about where she plays a teacher, a professor at Georgetown who wants to, in the one scene that we see from the movie, wants to impress upon these protesters that the only way to affect change is from within the system.
Yeah.
And they're very angry about it. She is very confused about what's happening in the scene and asks the director, and he's like, what, darling, what? And she's like, what am I saying to that? And he's like, you're a teacher. You're upset that the building's being torn down. And she's like, why is the building being torn down? And he's like, well, let's ask the writer then. And she's like, where is he? And she's like, he's in Paris. She's like, writing? And he's like, fucking. And then this crowd, including Damien the priest, who's watching this, and Damien reacts to this like a little girl who's like, oh, he said fucking. Like Damien, who's this priest who's lost his faith, we find out, or something. He's so excited to experience this world of these cosmopolitan Hollywood types who are telling a story ripped from the headlines about the political situation in America. But it's very confusing, is the point. There's just... She refers to this movie as, the Ho Chi Minh story as told by Walt Disney.
Which is... I love that line's included because it indicates that she's intelligent.
No, but she also just it's. I love that she just has no idea what's going on in the movie. She's like, wait, what are they protesting? What am I, And yeah, it's great. But movie stardom affords her a trip to the White House, I guess, and they have astronauts coming over to her.
Yeah, her being rich and well off and having this big party with these celebrities, it really is a cool way of showing that. Well, we'll talk about the different metaphors for possession.
Yeah.
Later, but one I want to bring up right now is just the idea of it depicting going through if a family member has a debilitating illness, and they're deteriorating, and it could be such an isolating experience. And you would think, could have a huge support system, but she's alone most of the time. It's just her and the servants and the
a
priest
personal assistant. Yeah,
and a personal assistant and the priest. I guess that is a lot of support, but it's like it's not like she's got a bunch of friends helping out. It's not like the president's coming and helping out, even though she gets to go to the White House. That, like, no matter how high up you are, Satan can always drag you back down.
No, it's true. Well, right. That's the thing is she's supposed to be so protected and so beyond the reach of the nastiness of the world, and yet, you're right, Satan can't protect you. But so I guess now that I'm thinking about it, like, because the exorcism itself, I think, is meant to be like a play, or like it's meant to be like a spectacle, like a ritual, and they do emphasize a lot. It doesn't matter whether you believe it's psychosomatic or the doctors are the first ones who present the idea of giving her an exorcist, right? An exorcism, and Chris is not a believer, and so is that what's going on with that scene where she's like asking about her motivation and the director doesn't give her a proper, like, is it just like,
don't worry about it,
it doesn't matter if you believe it? Yeah, like,
just do it.
Yeah, is that what's going on?
That's so interesting.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know. So there's definitely a parallel, I think, going on with, like, the being an actor and being a priest, right? There's these scenes of Damien sort of having to grin and bear it while he's doing a sermon or giving communion, even when he's struggling with his own demons. So yeah, there's a parallel that I think is being drawn there that's fascinatingly not laid out perfectly, but it is there.
There's a lot about the movie that Blatty had wanted to be explicitly spelled out. Like, he wanted the characters to state that that you have to believe in God because of going through this experience. It means that there's a hell, like that kind of thing. He wanted things explicitly stated, whereas Friedkin didn't want it to be overstated. He didn't want to have to hold the audience's hand. He wanted them to be able to think for themselves, put two and two together. And I like that there's those two different things at play, because you have the intention that Blatty had behind everything, but then coated over it is Friedkin just trying to put up a shield so that you only catch glimpses of things. Do you remember if that movie, the fake movie, is in the book?
Oh yeah, no. So there's a lot more in the book with the director.
Oh, Burke.
Yes,
the one who gets killed eventually by.
Yeah, and I have to say, like, as you know, you were watching the movie and you were like, I barely registered who Burke was.
Yeah,
even though his death is so central to the narrative.
Yeah, they really should have done a better job establishing him as a character before killing him off.
No, there's a number of scenes I know where he has these intimate moments with Chris, where I remember there's one thing where she is hanging out at a hotel or something, and Burke comes back after going on a long walk, and he comes back and he's muttering to himself, like, not a hooker around, or something. Like, he's like, there's no, I can't find any hookers anywhere.
This is in the book?
In the book, yeah, right. And it's just like this, and she's like, and like, she has a lot more, like, intimate moments, and, like, he's just much more established as a character, whereas he gets just the most glancing notice in the movie.
Yeah, it's so
weird.
weird.
And then they find out that he was killed after the fact, and it's sort of just, like, stated, like, oh, you didn't hear? Yeah, he was killed. And, oh, by the way, his head was turned all the way around. And by the way, that's what she's obviously doing when the famous she turns her head around thing is she's mimicking what happened to Burke.
Oh.
Yeah, of course. Obviously, that's when she speaks in his voice. She's like, do you know what she did? And that's why she... I know, right? You don't even get it.
Oh my God. I'm getting freaked out. I feel like I need to, like, look behind me and make sure nobody's like, faces in the window right now. Just ugh.
I know. I'm kind of looking. I'm kind
Stop!
of.
Don't even.
By the way, when you get told about the concept of, like, your head getting turned totally around, do you reflexively do that? Like, turn your head to the side and be like, yeah, I can't do it anymore.
No, I turtle my head a little bit, like as if I'm a turtle, and
you
I'm
do
like,
a head
treating
thing,
it.
though.
Yeah. I kind of like make sure it's nice and like settled deep onto my neck.
Yeah. So you didn't even get this whole plot line, which is like. The most the implication is so vast. I mean, it's like she killed somebody. Like Ray, like her daughter killed somebody.
Well, I got that point.
Okay. Well.
I knew that she killed him.
Right.
I didn't get that she was demonstrating what she did to him when she turns her head all the way around. I thought it was just like, well, Reagan's doing another crazy thing here.
Yeah. It's weird how much the head spinning around overshadows what it's doing.
Right, that she's saying Burke's...
That she's confessing.
In Burke's voice.
Yes,
and especially because we don't hear him talk that much in the movie, that it's hard to remember that that's Burke's voice, even though he has an accent.
Yeah.
But Okay, since you've read the book and you know more about Burke and Chris's relationship, are we supposed to think that they were involved? Because Reagan asks about this, and she's like, no, we're just friends. But that's something parents just say to their kids. But Burke seemed super unappealing.
Yes, right.
He's just like a drunken mess.
No, yeah, I know. But, like, it is supposed to be present that they're, like, friends. And, like, I feel like they have worked together before. And, like, she knows him. And, like, that scene where he's like, I'm not going to tell you your motivation, darling. And, like, they have, like, a hug that's meant to be, like, oh, they do get each other and, like, they're friends and stuff. I do like the idea of a divorced mom who, like, has a friend, and now all of a sudden, every guy that you're around, you have to explain to your daughter whether you're dating him or not.
Right.
So I like the idea of him. I feel like they are just friends in the book, too.
The book I read about The Exorcist had mentioned that conversation between Reagan and her mother when she's asking about Burke, that it was of a sinister nature, because then later Reagan kills Burke. Maybe
it is. Maybe I'm misremembering. I don't know.
That conversation to me felt really sweet. Like, to me, that felt like a conversation between, like, you know, a girl who's genuinely curious, and she asks her mom, and then her mom, like, describes it. She just explains the situation. And I really liked that openness and honesty between the two of them. So it was interesting to hear this other account of it being described as sinister.
It feels like the movie is missing one scene of Burke and Reagan appearing together.
Yeah.
Like seeing that he is he hangs out at the house every once in a while.
Right, yes.
That there's something connecting the two of them.
There are definitely times while we were watching, I think I've seen the later cut. We haven't discussed the two different cuts yet. But there were definitely times when I was watching the original one where I wrote down, I think a scene's missing here. There are just some real continuity issues in terms of it just, like, jumping forward without showing you what clearly was meant to be there.
Yes, I would agree.
And we'll get into those, I guess. But should we go back to the special effects?
I guess. I mean, we talked about, you know, they had to build a model, right? A model Reagan
dummy.
A dummy to flip the head around.
Apparently, the way that they tested it is that they put it in Taxi, like the passenger seat of Taxi, and then when people were looking at it, they would make the head turn.
Yeah. Right.
And that's so fucked up.
Yeah.
That scares the crap out of me.
The dummy did the stuff, like, had the letters come up out of it.
Yeah.
Out of its
torso. And, of course, the head turn. But I think what they did is they did this, like, thing where they turned the head, and then on set they put the live image of the body double speaking. That's how they made it seem like the dummy was speaking.
Right. So they had there's a lot of bed and room shaking.
Yes.
And they had 3 different beds that could shake in several different ways.
That's so fun.
And the entire room was on pneumatics.
The bed shaking, I feel like there's definitely an aspect of the movie where for a little while you're supposed to be unsure if it's in her head or not.
I guess.
I think is maybe what they intended, but the way they make the bed shake, it's like, obviously that's not her doing it.
Yeah.
I feel like they did the bed shaking too well, is what I'm getting at. They went too big with the bed shaking.
I guess. I don't know. Like, I feel like this whole thing, I'll try not to get too deep in this, but, like, the interesting thing about it is that the movie is kind of talking out of both sides of its mouth about belief and science versus religion and stuff. And, like, it's trying to present this theology that maybe has rules, and maybe psychology and mysticism can coexist. Science is real, but also Catholicism is real. And I feel like it basically just kind of makes whatever any given scene wants to happen. Like, for example, I was saying, like, the whole thing with where Damien goes and talks to the demon for the first time, and it makes the drawer open. And Damien's like, oh, am I supposed to believe that you did that? And the demon's like, ah. And then he's like, well, do it again. And the demon's like, no. What a vulgar display of power. And it's like, okay, what's the point of this? You're trying to sow doubt, but you don't want him to doubt this. You want him to believe that because you want to have the exorcism, because you want to bring him closer together. The demon is a liar, but he's not really lying about the existence of hell, and, like, your mother probably is in hell, and he is probably torturing her. The implication of this is your perception of the world is correct. So, like, I do think that the movie is presenting this world that's supposedly so secular, and, like, even the priests don't believe in the existence of the supernatural. But at the same time, it's trying to make the supernatural real in a way, or, like, make it believable, or have rules or something.
Well, did you know that Blatty at one point joined the Navy and was in the psychological warfare division? So, you know, maybe his experience there, maybe they did some crazy, subtle shit involving psychological warfare that you and I don't even realize is acting upon us when we're watching The Exorcist.
Yeah.
Like, maybe the demon is doing some psychological shit to them by making them constantly question, is the demon real? Is it not? Maybe that's contributing to their suffering from it. One thing that was in the novel, but not in the movie, is Marin basically says that he thinks the demon is not really targeting Regan. It's targeting everybody else in the room.
Right, and it seems like Damien is part of the target.
Yeah.
From the beginning.
That's true. Yeah. And then Marin is set up as, like, having this rival with the demon.
Exactly, right. Who the demon easily dispatches. He seems to just sort of die coincidentally upon first coming into contact with it.
Marin really didn't live up to the hype.
No, and is that the point? Like, he's, like, set up as this antagonist to the devil, but then in the end, even the most powerful exorcist in the world is no match for this, and what you have to do is make the demon come into you and kill yourself, and that's the only way to stop the evil.
I guess, I couldn't tell if it was just they needed somebody who you thought was the exorcist to actually turn out to not be the exorcist, so that Damien becomes the real exorcist, since the title is The Exorcist and not The Exorcism.
Right.
I guess
The Exorcist is a better title.
I think the T is strong.
Yeah.
In the end.
Yeah, The Exorcism of Emily Rose sounds so like, The Exorcism of Emily Rose, as opposed to, like, The Exorcist, you know.
All right, other special effects. So when Linda Blair is thrashing around on the bed, she wore a torso harness, which mechanically thrashed her around without her control. Mm-hmm. This is how she injured herself. There was a piece of metal that was digging into her while it was happening. And so when she is screaming, "Make it stop," in the movie, she really meant it because she was getting injured.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But the mechanical effects supervisor, Marcel Vercouter, I don't know, he's French. I'm doing bad with names this episode, sorry. Vercouter, that's my best attempt. He has this quote, he said, "I was the devil. I had her strapped in there and I was throwing her back and forth. When does the acting start and realism begin?" Which I thought was just kind of interesting, that he viewed himself as, like, possessing her during the making of this movie.
I was actually torturing this 12-year-old girl. It was amazing.
During the levitation scene, they levitated her using piano wires, but they had to paint the wires to make them blend in with the background. Uh-huh. But the background changed in almost every shot, so they were constantly having to repaint the piano wires, which was very frustrating to the crew. Yes. There were lots of false walls, like false walls to forklift the bed, false ceiling to levitate Blair. Yeah, they just did a lot. Oh, Friedkin, during the exorcism scene, he didn't want any random spooky lights. He insisted that it was all natural lighting and that you could see the sources of where the lights all came from. Yeah. Which goes back to his documentary realism type approach.
Yeah, a lot of interesting lighting stuff going on. The famous cover shot of Marin's entrance to the house. It was based on a Magritte painting and took a lot of attempts at getting the lighting just right. I know. And it looks beautiful.
It is beautiful.
Okay.
So they made the movie.
They made the movie, and the studio was worried about it. They thought it was kind of a trashy movie, and they didn't really want to release it very wide. But this turned out to be both a mistake and also not a mistake, because it created outrageous demand.
Yeah, because it was initially only released on 30 screens.
Yeah. And so then there were these famous lines around the block.
And it was released the day after Christmas, which
Yes.
at the time was not an ideal time to release movies.
Right.
So these people were waiting in line outside in the cold.
Yeah. And they were accused of stoking controversy.
What do you
by
mean?
releasing it around, because it's like a satanic film or whatever. They're trying to release it around a religious holiday.
Oh, interesting.
Which they probably kind of were. It was kind of probably part of the point.
Yeah.
Christmas, I don't think, was a big release date at the time.
No,
I'm not sure.
It wasn't.
So, yeah, it was like this, it was part of the story, was the audience for The Exorcist at the time, right? The people's reactions to it. There was, sorry to bring this up again, Elena, but a lot of vomiting that people did, famously.
Oh, when they saw the movie. It shocked them so much.
Yes.
They fainted and they vomited.
Yeah. Oh, most of the vomiting apparently was from the angiography.
The angiography scene.
The thing where the blood spurts out of Reagan's neck, which is just a them faking a real life medical procedure, nothing satanic or anything like that.
Yeah, that's
and
so
it is rather
interesting.
disturbing.
It is so disturbing. That's so interesting that most people were more disturbed by an actual medical procedure than the possession scenes.
Yeah.
So they consulted medical professionals for all of those medical examinations.
What would happen if you actually put a crucifix up in there?
Yeah, I don't think they consulted anybody on that one.
No, they didn't. They didn't get the human centipede doctor to sign off on that. Sorry. So they consulted all these medical professionals.
Yeah, and supposedly that angiography scene was so realistic that it was used in a radiological training film for years after.
And the people were just like, oh, I just want to watch the rest of this movie. Yeah, the medical scenes are some of the best stuff in the movie, I think.
They're very cool. They're very cool, very shocking. That blood one is so creepy. Blatty apparently was present when one of the first fainting incidents happened. A woman was walking up the aisle in the middle of the movie with her hand over her face, and she was murmuring like, Jesus, Jesus, during that scene. And Blatty says, I remember thinking, I hope that's not Pauline Kael.
Yeah.
Which is just so funny.
And what did old Pauline Kael think of this movie?
Oh, she hated it.
Really?
She really didn't like it at all. She especially hated Blatty, so that's really sad that he was so concerned about what Blatty thought about the movie. And she just really did a number on him in her review. For anybody who does not listen to our podcast frequently, Pauline Kael is a very famous film critic. She's actually who we named our podcast after, Kael Your Idols, Pauline Kael. Specifically about Blatty, she basically calls him really shallow and says that his shallowness is an embarrassment.
But I mean, but her basic thing is like, why do religious people like this? It's so trashy, and it turns sort of like their faith into a sort of grand guignol spectacle. But of course, she is kind of missing the fact that there is a certain amount of grand guignol spectacle in hardcore belief in the devil and the afterlife and stuff, and like that she's sort of missing, I think, the reality of this movie as being a recruitment tool for the Catholic Church, which it was. And in fact, it did cause a lot of people to have spike in interest in getting exorcisms. And a lot of lapsed Catholics got more interested in their faith because of this movie.
Yeah, it had a mix of reviews from Catholics. Like, as you said, some people really renewed their faith. Other people branded it as satanic. The censorship board of Tunisia banned the movie because it presented unjustified propaganda in favor of Christianity.
Yeah.
So they thought it was like too Christian.
Right. Well, and yeah, I mean, and so like this is coming in this context of the 60s being, there's this perception, and Blatty is certainly, I think, speaking to this, there's this perception that like, oh, we're in America, no one really believes in this stuff anymore. This is something that I think is a little bit different now, in at least the way that people are willing to talk about mainstream society. Like the new Exorcist, it doesn't present this sort of like society that has lost touch with religion in a way that this movie is trying to in its exposition.
I think it's worth bringing up, for the sake of context, in 1972, Pope Paul VI issued a statement saying, "Evil is not merely a lack of something, but an effective agent, a living spiritual being, perverted and perverting." And basically, he made this statement saying that we should really be taking the devil more seriously and treating him like an actual thing rather than just a metaphor. So it's interesting thinking about that happening 1 year before the movie is released.
Damien is a priest who was put through medical school by the church to become a psychologist, right? And I remember he has this whole monologue in the thing that's like, why would the church want a psychologist? And he's like, well, yeah, like there's such a thing as psychopaths and just people who are disturbed and things that you can't explain with just demons and magic and stuff.
It's interesting. Something that the book I read pointed out is when Damien goes to the mental institute to see his mother, the patients in that mental institute. By the way, Friedkin put hidden cameras in an actual mental institute to get footage of patients there, which I think is a huge no-no.
Yeah.
Just another example of him being a dick, filming without consent of people who can't give consent.
He did a lot of that, yeah.
Yeah, it's fucked up. As I was watching the movie, thinking, are these real patients? Because they looked very realistic.
Yes.
But anyways, so when he goes to that mental institute and he walks in, some of the patients there react very strongly to him in a way that's similar to the way possessed Reagan reacts to him. And it brings up the possibility that maybe anybody who is going through psychiatric trouble like that and ends up in an institute might actually just be possessed.
Yeah, it's so weird, the whole his mother and like what he did to her quote, because it's just like he seems like he's a dutiful son. He tries to look after his mother. He takes the train up to New York or whatever and tries to look in on her. She, scolds him and guilts him. And then he finds out that his mother had some kind of break and gets put in an institution. And he's like, there's got to be some better way. And his uncle's like, oh, what? You think that we can afford something better? Maybe if you were a rich doctor instead of a fucking priest. The uncle just makes fun of him for like not having enough money to put his mother in a better facility and stuff. And Damien seems like he's a dutiful son, but yeah, his hands are tied and like he can't do anything. His mother is strapped to a bed and it looks very cruel and disturbing. But like, are we supposed to think that that it really was a failing on his part, that like he should have done something more? He should have helped his mother more in the way that Chris helped Reagan and didn't want to have her institutionalized? Is that a real failing of Damien's, that he didn't break his mother out of this institution?
Nah, I don't think so. I think Damien's like presented as just the all-around good guy.
And just the devil's just fucking with him because he knows that's a sore spot.
Yeah. The devil's trying to make him...
So you don't think that the mother's actually getting tortured in hell?
No. I don't think I know...
I still think she is. I think she is.
You just don't like this mother.
I think the mother was kind of a jerk and doesn't seem very nice. But I also just think it's funny, the idea of the devil is a liar, but he will mix truth with lies. And some people are in hell, clearly, in this universe. Like, it wouldn't be hard to choose somebody that that you loved and say, like, yes, that person is actually in hell. I'm sorry to say.
No, if any of his family members are going to hell, obviously it's the uncle.
But the uncle's not dead yet.
I know, but he implies that it's Damien's fault for becoming a priest and that he's a bad son because he became a priest and can't support his mother financially.
It should be this thing where Damien has some actual weakness, or maybe Damien, like, secretly goes to hookers or something like that, and the devil should know how to press on an actual bad thing that Damien is doing. I think it's a little bit of a weak spot.
I think that
the mother guilt thing, it's like, it's just clearly a blatty, it's him speaking from his soul, but I think the mother stuff is a little weak.
I disagree, because I think that even if...
And he taunts him with the voice of the homeless man. It's like, I guess, did Damien not give him money?
Yeah, probably not.
And that's the sin that he did, is he wasn't charitable enough?
I guess so. But even if it's not your fault and something like that's not your fault, you still can't help but feel guilt, especially if he had his mother released from the mental institute, which they really needed an extra scene in there, because he's like, okay, I'll get you out, but they never show him getting her out. And then later it's mentioned, your mother died alone. Right. And then for a second, I was so confused. I thought maybe he had imagined the mental institution scene. And I was just very confused. And they really needed an extra scene in there.
Yeah.
But I could totally imagine having quite a lot of guilt about her dying alone after you release her from the mental institute. Even if you know that it wasn't, you were just trying to do the right thing. Like,
she seems insane, though. Like, she was ranting at him.
Yeah, so he shouldn't have had her released.
I do feel like Damien is an interesting idea for a character that is not fully realized for me.
I like him. I don't know. I like him. He's got the boxer thing. Yeah, that's nice. I like that he is really questioning his faith in the beginning, cool. And that's just cool. He's depicted as cool. Like, all the priests are.
They all smoke and drink, and like the one guy's clearly gay and like show tunes and stuff. Yeah, it's trying to present this image of the priests as being like they're just trying to make their way in the world like you and me.
Yeah. Okay, so we were talking about the initial reception of the film. It was a huge hit.
Adjusted for inflation, it's one of the top 10 highest grossing films of all time.
Yeah, the budget was $12 million.
It was $12 million?
Was the budget, and the original release grossed $190 million.
Yeah.
And then the re-release with the other version that we'll talk about in a second grossed $441 million worldwide.
Yeah.
So yeah, it remained the highest grossing horror film domestically until The Sixth Sense was released in 1999.
Yeah.
Yeah, big hit. And it was nominated for Best Picture.
Yes, in a year that it's a fascinating year. It was The Sting won, which is a movie that I quite love and was my favorite movie as a child. Cries and Whispers was also one, which is another movie that features a similar sort of self-mutilation to The Exorcist, kind of the two most famous stuff up there movies of all time came out the same year.
Putting sharp things up vagina movies.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah, so it was nominated for Best Picture. It was nominated for Best Director, but George Roy Hill won for The Sting. It won Best Adapted Screenplay, so Blatty won an Oscar for it. It got 10 nominations total. It won for sound, and then the other things it was nominated for was supporting actor, actress, supporting actress.
This is the first time that a horror movie had been nominated for Best Picture.
Yes, that's a good thing to talk about. The legacy, it elevated horror. Up until this point, horror films tended to be more B-movie type films.
Right. Yeah, I mean, this was about, like, let's make it classier. Let's have real actors like Lee J. Cobb and Max von Sydow, and Jason Miller wasn't really known as an actor, but Ellen Burstyn really is the performance of the film, I would say, and this sort of catapults her into being one of the icons of the era and of any era. You know, she's an amazing actor and so iconographically associated with New Hollywood that I included her in the song that is at the end of every episode of this podcast. So, gotta shout out Ellen Burstyn. I love her. I feel like this haircut is insane that she's got, but she looks really cool with it. Anyways.
I had a couple more things to talk about with the initial reception and then also its legacy.
Okay.
We mentioned before the vomiting and the fainting. Also, there were a couple miscarriages reported to have been blamed by The Exorcist.
Yes.
4 women were apparently so traumatized they were confined to psychiatric care. One man threw himself at the screen in Berkeley in an attempt to get the demon.
In 1975, the Journal of Nervous and Mental Disease published a paper by a psychiatrist documenting 4 cases of, quote, cinematic neurosis triggered by the particular film.
Cinematic neurosis.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. He recommended physicians view the movie with the patient to help identify the sources of their trauma.
Yeah, cities such as Boston tried to ban the movie.
Yes, so it freaked people the fuck out when it came out.
It was blamed for a lot of criminal or suicidal behavior in Europe. A 9-year-old girl was murdered by a teenager who told the court, "It was not really me that did it. There was something inside me. It is ever since I saw that film, The Exorcist. I felt something take possession of me. It has been in me ever since." So there was a lot of fear surrounding this movie, and it was banned from VHS distribution in the UK because they didn't want it to be too easy for kids to get their hands on.
Right. Very disturbing. do you feel that it is still anywhere close to as powerful as it was claimed to be at the time? And I feel like its reputation kind of had a long tail, and people sort of still for years would talk about how terrifying it was and stuff.
So you're saying, is it as scary now as it used to be?
Yeah, what do you think of the movie on a scariness level?
I expected it to be very scary the first time I watched it, which was fairly recently. I'm such a scaredy cat. I think
you're not really, though. I think you think of yourself as more of a scaredy cat than you really are, though, is the thing.
I get a lot of nightmares. I get nightmares really easily. And when I was younger, I watched the movie Scary Movie 3, the comedy spoof, and it gave me nightmares for months. And I lived in a really creepy house, so...
Comedy spoof.
It was so scary, specifically the Ring spoof of it. And so because of that experience, having such bad nightmares, I didn't watch any horror films for a while until recently. And now I'm starting to watch these horror films, and they are not as scary as I expected them to be.
No. I don't think this movie is very scary. When I saw it at the Uptown Theater, when I saw the re-release in 2000, I was 12. I was with my friend. My mom was like, "This is the scariest movie ever. Like, this is pretty crazy." And the sound, I think, at the Uptown Theater, which was this massive theater, I'm not even sure if it's still there anymore, but it was a big landmark. It was one of the biggest theaters on the Eastern Seaboard. And the sound really aided in the effect of the terror for me. So I honestly wonder if it's less so that the movie is not scary anymore, because I do think it still is rather disturbing. Like, the shoving the crucifix up your vagina is more shocking imagery than is in any other exorcism movie that I've seen, because it's like, how can you top that? It's as far out as you can go. But I actually just think seeing it in the theater is a scarier experience than watching it at home ever really can be. Because I know Friedkin wanted the sound played very loud. He was very into having sound combinations of different things, and I remember you'd cross-cut to the X-ray machine, and it just suddenly makes a loud noise, and stuff like that was really frightening. And that combined with this makeup and imagery, and it's all being done to a little kid, and you'd never seen it before. But the movie itself is so ridiculous. Friday the 13th is still pretty scary because it's people getting murdered. Nobody gets murdered in that. You know what I mean? You don't see a death. You just see a little girl making creepy noises and faces and stuff. You know?
I mean, a couple people get murdered, but
you don't see it.
But you don't see it.
Right.
Yeah, totally. Also, the voice is just so not scary.
It's so over the top.
It's gross.
Yeah.
But not scary.
Right.
So, yeah, that and the fact that the special effects have aged and
it's not real. It's obviously not real.
Not real stuff scares me all the time. I will say I was a little spooked. I didn't think I was scared the second time around watching. I was like, I'm not scared at all. But then later at night, I did find myself checking the corners a bit more. And I did end up having a nightmare where I thought I heard a girl yell, "Help me." So clearly it affected me on some level. But it definitely wasn't incredibly scary.
Yeah, it's difficult for me to say. I don't know what movies I would place as scary. Again, we talked about The Ring. When I saw that in the theater as I was in ninth grade, I found that movie very scary. But just nothing really is that scary to me. So it feels very difficult to judge how scary something is. But there's no doubt that I think this movie in particular has experienced a lessening in its scariness. It was originally seemingly doing shit to people.
Yeah.
It really had a major impact on the way people viewed the world.
Yeah, I do think the special effects and the sound, like you said.
Yeah.
But the special effects were big at the time.
And it was a new idea. It was just something you hadn't seen before. Now there's just been so many possession movies, and they're all so using the same imagery as the movie. They're all such a ripoff of this movie.
Yeah. It's a little bit like the Shakespeare thing. Nowadays, when they make kids read Shakespeare, they're like, oh, this is so cliche. And it's like only cliche because Shakespeare is so influential that everything else they've seen that does that was influenced by Shakespeare. But Shakespeare's the original thing that did it all.
Yeah, I mean, I guess with The Exorcist, though, it is very much a direct ripoff. That these movies are like literally like there's a fucking girl. It's usually a girl who gets possessed in a nightgown.
Yeah,
in somebody's house. There's usually some variation on a loss of faith, or nobody believes this is possession at first and stuff, but you got to get through. There's this interesting one that's called The Last Exorcism. That is, it's a mockumentary about this guy who's like a preacher who, he is at this revival church and he speaks in tongues and he does all these things, but he is sort of like winking at the camera and wants to be like, look, I think this is all bullshit. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to go prove to you how I can trick people into thinking they're possessed and how I can present an exorcism. And he's like breaking it down and trying to be like, see, look, I put her feet in this thing of water and I put this stuff in it to make it boil. And so then it's this trick you do. And he's sort of trying to expose all the parlor tricks. But of course, gradually he uncovers stuff that makes him think maybe this is a real version of it,
Right.
But so that's an interesting twist. But it's always some version of that where it's like, this isn't real, right? Wait, maybe it is. So you kind of have to play in this sandbox that I think has gotten pretty tired.
But it really can't be overstated just how influential this movie was. Not only The Imitators, like you mentioned, like the second it achieved such success, The Imitators such as The Omen and Amityville Horror were quickly greenlit and given large budgets. But as we mentioned before, it really elevated the horror genre because it was the first horror film to be nominated for a Best Picture. It really showed people that you can do a lot with your horror films. Only one horror film has ever won Best Picture. I'm assuming you know which one it is. Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, of course.
There were only 6 horror films ever nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah.
So there's...
Was The Shining?
No. Other than Silence of the Lambs and The Exorcist, the other 4 are Jaws, which is not really that much of a horror. Sixth Sense.
Sure.
Black Swan. Again, not that much of a horror. And then Get Out.
Okay. Yeah, that's a horror movie.
Yeah. But it
also
really...
not scary, but,
Yeah, but it really launched elevated horror, but it also was kind of an early start to blockbuster event cinema. And I read this one interesting thing that kind of presented Friedkin's 1-2 punch of The French Connection and then The Exorcist as kind of representing both sides of the new Hollywood, of you having just these very like 70s like paranoia film type movies, and then on the other hand the event cinema blockbustery spectacle type movie, The Exorcist, similar to the way Jaws and Star Wars were. And I thought that was a really interesting comparison to make.
Yeah, the Jaws is definitely a similar kind of thing based on a popular bestseller. I feel like the property is king kind of idea is certainly coming in vogue with Paramount and stuff, and where they're just sort of like taking these books that were very, very popular, but not exactly, it's not like great literature necessarily. Although the Exorcist, I think, is better written than a lot of these pulpy books.
Another thing that The Exorcist was influential in is Ouija boards. So just a quick little history of Ouija boards. They were created in 1890 in Baltimore, Maryland. So it's a Maryland thing.
All very mid-Atlantic.
Yes. They were very popular. They even outsold Monopoly for a little bit. Mm-hmm. And although there were some stories of evil associated with it, most people used it for non-scary fun. So it wasn't actually really viewed as a scary thing to do. It was viewed as just a fun thing to do. There were a couple...
Well, this is in the spiritualism period, right? This is the period of time when Houdini and everybody like is trying to actually contact the spirit world.
Oh, I love thinking about Houdini. That was that time period?
Yeah, the 1890s to turn of the century. Yeah.
That's cool.
People loved that shit. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle and all that.
Yeah. There were some movies that featured the Ouija board prior to The Exorcist, but they weren't as scary or disturbing as The Exorcist. Because of The Exorcist, everybody's opinions about Ouija boards changed, and now they are viewed as scary. You see them in a bunch of horror films, and that's all thanks to The Exorcist. Blatty's choice to include it, he became obsessed with an Ouija board. While he was writing the last chapter of the book, he felt like he was actually communicating with his dead father. This movie was also famous and influential for its use of subliminal imagery. Some people were very upset with this subliminal imagery because they thought it was like propagating Satanism through the movie. They thought it was dangerous. Friedkin was inspired to do the subliminal imagery because of this 1956 movie, Night and Fog, directed by Elaine Renee, which is an Auschwitz documentary, and it had quick cuts of corpses from the Holocaust intercut with landscapes of the now overgrown concentration camp. And he was really inspired by that use of subliminal imagery that he wanted to put in his own film. And now subliminal imagery is used in a lot of things, but I think The Exorcist is one of the most famous early adopters of it.
I remember in the 2000 release, there was more subliminal imagery. There was more flashes of scary faces. And those were like the scariest parts. I feel like he cut out a lot of the scariest bits, like the spider walk and the extra flashes of the demon's face and stuff.
Yeah. So the two different cuts, Blatty was really upset about all of the scenes that Friedkin cut out of the movie. And then eventually in 2000, Friedkin was like, okay, I put them back in. Let's re-release it.
Yeah.
With all those extra scenes put back in.
I think it's better.
I think it's better too. Yeah. If you're wondering what movie to watch, which version to watch, if you haven't seen it yet, go with the re-release.
Yeah, it feels a little more shaggy and a little bit more lived in as opposed to the abruptness, which I think we were sort of both responding to.
Yeah.
In the most recent time we watched it, which was the original.
Yeah. Blatty was really happy that Friedkin put those back in. They had such an interesting friendship because they had this tension between them. Blatty was really upset about all those scenes being cut. There's this really sweet thing that on the opening day of the original movie, Blatty inscribed Friedkin's annotated copy of the novel with the note, "To Billy, the first and only director who ever made a far better film than the book. Indeed, there is only one, and it's you. With great love and gratitude, Bill." I think that's really sweet.
That is nice. Yeah, I mean, there's no question that the movie has eclipsed the book. The movie is a towering achievement in cinema.
Yes.
And yeah, so like what we think about this work. I think that I love the setup. I love the performance of Ellen Burstyn, and this last time watching it, I was more into the Jason Miller performance, although the last time I watched it, I was a little bit like, is Damien my problem with this movie? Is this dude kind of boring? Like, is he a low-rent Al Pacino or something like that? Like, Jack Nicholson had expressed interest in playing Father Karras, and Paul Newman as well, and one wonders if those would have been slightly more compelling versions of this. But, yeah, I feel like it's... Having read the book, there's all these scenes in the movie that kind of don't quite have as much impact as you would want them to have. Like, again, we were talking about you didn't even realize that the guy was an astronaut when Reagan is, like, saying, you're going to die up there.
Right.
And that's the whole point of this, is that she is desecrating the sacred faith that Americans have in astronauts. Like, she's disrespecting an astronaut. Like, how dare she? Only the devil could do this. And I feel like the movie's racing to get to these special effects sequences,
right,
which are very effective and stuff. And then it's all building towards this finale of the exorcism, which to me is the weakest part of the movie.
It is a little repetitive.
Yeah.
Because it's just like Reagan's doing more crazy shit.
Yeah.
And the priests are trying and it doesn't work at first, and then it eventually works.
It's a decent ending that it's like, the exorcism doesn't work. Damien just has to coax the demon into getting into... Well, so Damien basically is like trying to kill Reagan. Like, he's choking her, right? He's fighting with her and he's choking her, and I guess the implication is he's trying to get him to come into himself. But I think that the threat is real, that he's like, I'll kill this being that you have infected, and thus you won't have any power any longer. But then he gets it to come into himself, and he just selflessly throws himself down the famous Exorcist steps, which I have to say are much more scary in real life than they are in the movie.
They didn't look scary at all in the movie. I didn't understand why the movie was focusing on the steps so much.
The steps, which are a huge DC landmark, they're like our big cultural landmark. It's the one thing from a movie that anybody ever thinks about wanting to go see in DC if you bring guests from out of town. And they're much more steep and imposing looking, and like walking up them is creepy, like, and scary. Like, you're afraid you're going to fall down. They don't look that bad in the movie. They were incapable of photographing them in a truly frightening way.
They should have done some more low-angle shots or something like that.
I don't know. But yeah, so, like, but the exorcism, it's like, maybe I've just seen it parodied so much. Maybe it just, it's weirdly slow and yet quick. Like
the actual exorcism.
The final act. It's like they do the same bits a couple times.
Right.
And it, like, doesn't really work. And it's like over really quick. It's like 15 minutes.
Yeah, but I could watch Max von Sydow sling that holy water all day long.
He flings it. He's clearly practiced. It's all in the wrist. And yeah, he is locked in to this performance. I mean, it's almost over the top. Like the whole, do you want to know the history of the case? And he's like, why? Like, it's as if, like, he's been expecting this question and was so ready to say, like, I don't need to know the case at all, because obviously it's simply the devil. Like, it's, a little over the top. But, yeah, I feel like the exorcism itself is, like, boring and weirdly perfunctory and yet drawn out.
And this is in comparison to the new movie.
Yes. Well, first of all, the one thing I gotta say, in both the old movie and the new movie, no one can deny that sedation works on demons. Like, if you give a possessed person a sedative, it will calm them down, regardless of if the devil is inside them or not. Like, everybody knows you can't fight a sedative. Okay? But I also just think it's so funny, like, in the original movie, it's like Reagan gets unpossessed, and then they're just like, they have one final scene with her, and she feels some connection to Father Dyer and wants to hug him, but they're very clearly like, she doesn't remember a thing. It's like, what does that mean? How does it mean that she doesn't remember a thing? Like, she's covered in welts and cuts. She was strapped to a bed. They've redesigned their house to be like, they didn't explain anything to her. They're just like, what happened? What does that mean?
Yeah, it was a little bit of a cop-out just to wrap up the movie.
Yeah. And why would it be good if she doesn't remember a thing? I don't know. It's like, I don't know.
I mean, it would be pretty traumatic to remember that you very violently shoved a crucifix up into your vagina and then shoved your mother's head into your bloody vagina. That'd be a traumatic thing to remember.
Yeah, I guess it's good that she doesn't remember. I just don't really know what it means. But yeah, anyway. What is happening when you're getting possessed? Like, it's like, she's in here too. And it's like, the help me comes on her body. Presumably that's her soul inside of herself writing that?
Well, I really like one thing that Kale...
Or is that just the devil trying to fuck with you?
Oh, no, I assumed that was Reagan.
Right.
Something that Kale said about the movie that I agree with is she felt like the movie should have succeeded in making you feel bad for Reagan.
Yeah.
And for Father Marin's death. And you don't feel bad. You're not that sad for...
Karis's death or Marin's death?
Marin's death. Both of their deaths.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe both their deaths.
I guess I feel bad for Karis.
Well, Karis's death is like...
Do I feel
triumphant?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So you feel like he succeeded in doing something for his death, whereas Marin's just like killed off.
Yeah, but it's almost like he's not even killed by the devil. It's just like he dies incidentally due to overwork.
No, yeah, that's true. It might not necessarily be that the devil killed him. It could be that. Oh, but at that point, Reagan got loose from her straps, right?
Yeah,
and she's like laughing in the corner. I don't know. It's kind of unclear.
Yeah, the torturing of Reagan. It's like. Yeah, she's such a non-character.
Yeah.
Like, she just seems like the devil to me.
Yeah. Reagan, it annoys me a lot that before she gets possessed, the way that they indicate that she's a sweet girl is she's like, oh, can we have a horse, mama? Oh, please, oh, please. And it's like ponies equal good girls.
Right.
Sexuality equals bad girl.
Yeah.
I hate that trope.
I want to mix the sexuality and the horses.
You do. Lots of little girls have their first orgasm experience while riding horses. That would have been easy to do. I just can't stand... No, I didn't.
But you rode horses as a kid. You were a horse girl.
I did. Yeah, I used to do vaulting, which is gymnastics on horses.
Yeah.
So I would like stand on a horse while it's trotting and galloping, and there'll be like 2 or 3 of us up on a horse.
Would you say
lifting
you were
each other up.
a good girl or a bad girl when you were riding horses?
I was a good girl.
Right. So, okay. I think
But it's okay if you're a bad girl out there riding horses.
Yeah, she wants a horse, but also she talks to her mom like, "Oh, Mom,
yeah,
I'm such a 70s acting."
Yeah,
oh,
it was so annoying.
That 70s style of acting that people do where they're like, "Oh, what do you think of this?" Oh, Mom. Like, it's like a Woody Allen movie, like a thing where they're just like, "Oh, did you see this in the paper?" Oh, God. Oh, yeah. Yeah, and she's very polite and nice and apple-cheeked.
And I hate this trope of, like, as soon as a female character turns evil, she suddenly turns up the sexuality to the 10th degree.
This is a part of the underpinnings, right? This is a part of supposedly what's being discussed is puberty and burgeoning sexuality of Reagan, and there's this idea that maybe this is an anti-feminist film and that you need the patriarchal powers of the priesthood. I'm serious. This has been put forth to tamp down the burgeoning sexuality of this young girl.
It was notable in the original movie, partway through the exorcism, the 2 priests go downstairs, and then you see Chris, Reagan's mother, just sitting there, and you're like, oh yeah, right, why the fuck isn't she up there? Like, she's the mom.
Yeah, I love that line in the new movie when she's like, I did technically not see the original exorcism, right? And it's like, yes, we know. Yeah,
and Victor asked why not, and she said patriarchy.
So they're damn patriarchy. It's like, thank you, Studio Note.
So I felt like the new movie, one of its main goals was just trying to right the wrongs of this movie.
And right the wrongs of religion itself. As it sees it,
yes. So
yes, the feminist critique.
Yeah.
Of the film.
It's very problematic if the movie is suggesting that puberty and the onset of sexuality, specifically female sexuality, is akin to a demonic possession. That's fucked up. Other proposed metaphors, the breaking down of the family and the home.
Yes, a product of divorce.
Yeah.
That could be the original sin that causes Reagan to get possessed, because her parents are not wed.
That I've seen that suggested for sure. Also, just teen rebellion in general of the time period. Like the doctor's asking, do you keep any drugs in the house?
The youth, right, yeah.
Friedkin denies any sort of metaphor for it.
Right.
He says he does not think that the Exorcist is dealing with any sort of social problem.
No, I think that it's, to be honest, if I'm being real about it, I think that it's just stupid, like, oh, it's worse if it's happening to a little girl than if it was happening to a little boy. You know what I mean? Like, it's like the more innocent, the more vulnerable, the more, oh, how horrible to think about her being defiled by this devil. Like, I think that there's a little bit of, certainly, sexism and a patronizing aspect to it. But people say stuff like the vomit is meant to represent her menstruation. And I'm like, well, it's green and coming out of her mouth, and there's a lot of blood in the vagina in this movie. So if that's the main menstruation metaphor, I don't know,
I heard that angiography scene is supposed to be orgasmic, like the blood spurting out like an orgasm. And blood, yeah. Even if that wasn't the intention, though, if all you have are all of these movies that show hypersexual females as evil, then that's bad in aggregate.
Yeah, no, of course. But I mean, like, it's a horror movie, so it's like, it's mixing sex and violence, and it's this, they go together like peanut butter and jelly. It's like, maybe I would like there to be a new cliche invented at this point, but it's just kind of, these are the things that disturb people typically, are violence and sexuality.
Inappropriate sexuality.
What else is there to disturb somebody? A weird color? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what else could you think of that would be like true? Somebody stealing or something? Like, I don't know, somebody lying.
I really liked that the movie was able to make Reagan peeing on the carpet as extremely disturbing.
Yes.
Which is so interesting, especially when you compare it to the new movie. I think we briefly already talked about this the bedwetting, but that's just so not as disturbing as seeing somebody just stand there and pee straight on a carpet.
Yeah.
And that's really impressive.
In front of company.
In front of company, yeah. That's such a, not really a light touch. It's just a really interesting way to show a disturbing thing.
Yeah, right. Because, I mean, it really does initially seem like this is just a girl who there is something going on with her. I love the 1973 progression of, like, first you do rigorous invasive medical testing. After you've exhausted all of those options where you're literally getting blood spurting out of her neck, it's like, maybe she should see a psychiatrist? Have you thought about that? The last resort? And then they're like, well, beyond that, I guess there's exorcism. It would be so different now. They never even really consider psychiatry in the new movie, though. That's never even really a...
There's therapists there for the initial medical examinations. Yeah. And I think Angela, the main girl, she's in a mental institute for a little bit.
There's this part where the doctors want to take Reagan to this institution, and Chris is just like, I'm not doing that, or I'm not having her committed and stuff. And it's like, what would have happened if they did commit her? Would the demon just be like thrashing around and they just leave her in the room and be like, well, that's what happens, you know? And it's just like, he would just feel totally impotent and not be able to fuck with anybody. Like, is Chris actually making it worse for herself by forcing Reagan to be at home and infect her household?
Maybe if Reagan had been institutionalized, she would have realized that she is Saint Michael and performed the exorcism herself, just like the boy in the original Exorcist.
Just wants to get out. The devil's like, this is not working. Do you want to start with a new one?
Let's talk about the new one.
Talk about the new one. Okay. What'd you think?
I had heard it was bad.
Gotten terrible reviews.
Yeah, such bad reviews. I'd heard it was bad. I was kind of liking it in the beginning.
Yeah.
The second act was terrible, and I think that Ellen Burstyn's performance was a large reason why it was so bad. Every scene that she was in was so bad.
It's pretty bad. And we're going to spoil some stuff.
We're going to spoil some stuff, but not all stuff.
Yeah, right.
And then the exorcism was fun. I think it had some of the issues as the original. There was still some repetition, and I felt like some of the stuff dragged on a little bit, but especially the end part of the exorcism, I liked it.
They addressed a lot of my concerns with the exorcism, which is, like, I actually do feel like the exorcism in the new one is basically kind of better, I think. Or at the very least, it's like much more interesting moment to moment.
Yes.
There's like a lot of things... basically my thing with the new one, it's like, I feel similar to you. You know, at the beginning, I went in with such low expectations, and it seems so silly, and there's all these things. It's like, now there's two girls, and I'm like, what do you mean there's two girls? How are you going to have two people be possessed? And then it did have sort of some of those problems where it was like, it would have to cut to one person, and then like, let's go check in with what's going on with the other girl, and she's having her own thing, and it's like, they kind of can split some of the different symptoms up amongst them, and like one of them is peeing the bed and the other one's being crazy in a church and stuff, and they have different backgrounds and stuff. And I agree the Ellen Burstyn stuff is by far the weakest part. Her performance does not help, but what they do with the character is just pretty silly, and she's just like 90 years old, and it's like, so, you know.
Yeah. I hate that they're like, okay, you know what? We're going to right the wrong about Ellen Burstyn not being in the room for the exorcism. Yeah. So we'll have her go in and try the exorcism. But then she fucking fails immediately.
I guess she's like the Marin, too. Where it's like, that's the thing where it's this misdirect. I actually didn't mind her ultimate fate.
It was poetic.
It was,
but...
it was, shall we say, very Greek tragedy. But, I don't feel like they made her overstay her welcome, nor did I feel like it was just using her stardom and association with the original film just for like one scene or something. Like they made use of her. It was mostly shitty use. By the way, speaking of that, can I just say Ellen Burstyn, it's an interesting... So she's one of the few actors to have the Triple Crown of acting. She's got an Emmy, Tony, and an Oscar. She won the Oscar and the Tony in the same year. So almost the full Bob Fosse, where she won the Oscar Best Actress for Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, her follow-up to The Exorcist, which is a movie I don't really care for. And then she was in Same Time Next Year on Broadway and won the Tony for that, which she ultimately did do the movie version of that, which is a movie that I wouldn't mind rewatching again. I think it's kind of a cute movie. And then she won an Emmy for something later, but she got many other nominations, and one of her Emmy nominations was a supporting actress nomination where she had something like 14 seconds of screen time and only said 38 words. And there was all this controversy, like, come on, you just saw Ellen Burstyn's name and voted for her. But the Academy was like, no, this is a legitimate nomination. And she was like, I don't know. I think it's cool that I got nominated like for that, So she is somebody who can make an impact, apparently, with very little screen time. But yeah, they kind of used her pretty poorly, and she's old as fuck in the new one.
I wish she wasn't in it at all. Like, yeah. Her scenes were so bad.
Didn't need them at all.
You really didn't need them. You could cut her out entirely.
And there's so much in this movie. I mean, as I say, it's the definition of overstuffed. You could say it gets quite a bit too plotty in the exorcism scene. Okay, so let's just kind of lay out, and this is kind of, I guess, the main spoiler I want to talk about, right? So the original movie is the Catholic Church is the people who still do exorcisms, and you need a priest in order to battle the devil, right? In the new movie, there's two girls, and they come from different backgrounds. And it's an interfaith coalition of sorts that ultimately comes together to try and defeat the devil. And it's got this very postmodernist view of all religions are correct, and there is no such thing as the real doctrinaire truth. Religions are just about people and us all coming together, and that blah 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 blah. And I'm making a jerk off motion with my hand right now, and I think that's very stupid. And it's very tied into belief, but it's you don't have to believe in a specific dogma. It's just you just have to believe in something, I guess. Whereas in the original, it's very much it doesn't matter if you believe or not. Chris clearly is not a believer, and
well, she was supposed to have a scene where she basically said that she ended up believing in the devil because of this experience, but it got cut out the night before the shoot because Ellen Burstyn didn't feel like she could believably deliver a line where she says that she believes in the devil. But you're talking about the end result.
Well, the doctors, as I say, the doctors are the ones who present Chris with the idea of the exorcism, and they're just it's purely power of suggestion and stuff. And then there's stuff where Damien is trying to test the demon with the holy water, and the holy water clearly doesn't actually make a difference because he pretends to have holy water and it still burns the demon, or the demon is pretending to have it burn. And, I don't know. I do think that it's trying to say that there is some element of it that's suggestion and some element of it that is real. And they're playing with that in the new one, except it's very explicitly it's very explicitly no, there is a true bargain that you can strike with this evil force, and it will trick you every time, and it'll enact its revenge. And there's real magic, and there's this character who's an ex-oncologist who becomes a root medicine specialist and is seemingly believes more in that now than oncology, I guess.
I had a big issue with voodoo in this movie. I got the impression that she was voodoo because it mirrored the opening in Haiti, where the mother gets a blessing from a person who's practicing voodoo. This bothered me a lot because I've been to Haiti, and in Haiti, I looked this up, 84% are some sort of Christian,
right,
and only 2.1% are voodoo.
Sure.
And Christianity is really, really important to the people who live in Haiti. They are all very religious, and the Christians truly believe that the people in Haiti who practice voodoo are evil. I'm not saying that that's right for them to believe that.
And the woman who gets the voodoo blessing, though, is a tourist who is being somewhat preyed upon, presumably by this huckster.
Oh, I didn't think so.
I mean, I know it's real and thing, but it's not but she's she's very much a tourist who's getting taken to have this blessing in the marketplace. I really liked that scene, even though I have this issue with the voodoo thing. I liked that scene because you think, oh, this is how the possession is going to start. This fake blessing? But then the way they shoot the blessing, they're all dressed in white. There's lots of smiles. There's lots of light streaming in. And you know this is not evil. Right. This is good. And I liked that reversal there. And I thought they were clearly trying to, in this prologue scene, reverse the evil equals other that the original movie did. Because
they set you up thinking like, oh, Haiti, that's other, that's evil, that's where the evil's coming from. But then they end up not doing that. But I was just bothered that they chose voodoo. I felt like they chose it because it's the more exotic and exciting seeming religion. But I think that most Haitians would actually be pretty upset with the representation that voodoo equals Haiti.
Yeah. Well, I think it's worth mentioning. By the way, so this new movie, Exorcist Believer, is by David Gordon Green, who is a fascinatingly strange director who started off making some indie movies, including this movie called George Washington, which is a movie that I fucking loved, at least when I saw it 20 years ago. It's a very interesting sort of almost documentary realism itself, vision of these poor kids who have this tragic accident and have to deal with it in a very real kid way that's like, what are we going to do about this? And it's really disturbing. And then so David Gordon Green, he makes these like stoner comedies. Like he made Your Highness and Pineapple Express and linked up with Danny McBride, who he co-wrote a lot of movies with, including Danny McBride gets a story credit on this new Exorcist movie. But so this is a continuation of David Gordon Green's most recent iteration of himself, which is as this legacy horror director. He made 3 Halloween legacy sequels. And Friedkin said before he died that when he died, he wanted to come back and possess David Gordon Green and make his life a living hell because he fucking hated that he was going to make this Exorcist movie because he thought he was going to fuck it up and ruin it, which is the consensus response to this movie. It's like, people fucking hate it.
Yeah.
That being said, so this movie, as we say, is trying to touch on a lot of different aspects of what the original Exorcist is saying.
Yeah.
And its legacy. And it's got these 2 girls who are possessed, one who is white and one who's black. And this is clearly because The Exorcist, do you know about this?
No.
The Exorcist and the original release. So none of the theaters booked originally were in black neighborhoods.
Oh.
Since the studio, there was this belief that audience won't be interested in this film because it's got no black characters. But this theater in this predominantly white Westwood area was overwhelmed with moviegoers from South Central, which is a black neighborhood. And, you know, there was a huge percentage of the audience for The Exorcist was black people. And they were just sort of like, what's the deal with this? And the studios, they sort of credit is I was putting scare quotes around this, the black enthusiasm for The Exorcist as being a main reason why they decided to stop making black exploitation films. Because they're like, oh, we thought black people wanted to see black people in movies. They don't care. So then they
stopped casting.
They stopped making black movies because they were like, oh, they're fine with just all white characters. Who cares? And,
wow.
Yeah, and
that's crazy.
They asked, you know, there were many people asked about this, and one black patron said why there's such popularity. He said it probably relates to like voodoo and witchcraft and that kind of stuff. Many people still believe in black magic in the black community, especially those from Haiti and the Deep South. So I think that was something that they were directly trying to address with this new movie. Is
that makes sense.
Make it a little bit more inclusive and the perception of the black community as being more religious in general.
Right,
know?
Right.
And yet in the movie, of course, the black characters are the less religious ones, which, yeah, I feel like it's an interesting commentary, but it's subtle.
Yeah. There were lots of things I really liked about the movie. I really liked the actor who plays Victor.
Leslie Odom Jr.
Yeah, who was Aaron Burr in Hamilton.
Yeah, and they had Norbert Leo Butz play the dad of the other girl. So 2 Broadway legends.
Oh.
2 musical theater guys.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I thought his performance was really good.
Yeah. I thought it was good.
Leslie
Odom Jr., yeah.
Oh, you didn't think it was really good? Just good?
I mean, like, he's a guy who we're all very excited for the potential star-making performances that Hamilton has brought us. I feel like he's the one that people have been really trying to push to see, like, is this guy a movie star? And it's been not really clear whether he is or not. Burr is such a rich, fascinating character, and I don't know that he's really been given that platform in other movies yet. He was in that one movie, One Night in Miami? The one that's about Muhammad Ali and he plays Sam Cooke.
Right.
And
I watched
Malcolm X and
this
stuff.
movie.
We watched it. I think we both were kind of like
underwhelmed.
Didn't love it. And I think it's just he hasn't quite been given the right platform. This is a big juicy role for him, despite the fact that it's a movie that's stuffed with characters. He still makes an impact. And I feel like, look, this movie it's got a lot of hacky touches. It's got a lot of stuff that we laughed out loud at. It's got a lot of like silly things, but it's one of these things where I feel like I don't get why people hate it so much.
I get it, and it's because of Ellen Burstyn's scenes. I think that leaves such a bad taste. It was so bad.
I mean, it's very legacy sequel-y, but I don't know. I think that
I hated those scenes so much.
It's like, what do you want from one of these movies? To me, it's like Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, right? That movie's good, but it annoys me that it's good because it's like, oh great, a good Spider-Man movie. It's Spider-Man. I've fucking seen Spider-Man a million times. Like, I don't care anymore. Like, I don't care how good. Can't you make a good movie that's about something else? And with this, it's like, would this movie be better if it was just a movie that was not connected to the original Exorcist? I don't feel like this squanders its connection to the original Exorcist. I feel like it's an attempt at like, okay, you need a name to sell this movie. I mean, less so with horror films, and many would argue that Blumhouse extremely overpaid for the rights. They paid $400 million for the rights to The Exorcist to make this legacy sequel, which is just like, that movie does not have that level of value.
No.
Blumhouse, which is famously a very frugal operation, this is going to be considered a major boondoggle by them.
Yeah.
But, as far as things go, it's like, I think they did a decent job at trying to make a movie in conversation with this very famous film.
I think they did an okay job. They did rely a lot on the original movie. They did the single parent, they did the flickering lights, the medical examinations, the subliminal messaging, urinating at inappropriate times, carving into the bodies.
But this time it was two girls. I don't know if you got that girls. It was two girls.
There was even boxing. Like, just because Damien
right.
boxes in the original,
Jesus.
They have Victor boxing in the neighbor. It's so silly. I like that they played Tubular Bells. That's that creepy song from The Exorcist. And when I heard that, I was like, wow, this sounds just like that Carpenter song from Halloween. They sound so similar. Here, I'm gonna play first a couple seconds of Tubular Bells. Okay, and now listen to a couple seconds from the Halloween theme. They're so similar. It's crazy.
Yeah, they're pretty. I mean, they're similar. It was the style of the time. I don't know. Like, it's
Carpenter explicitly says that he was directly influenced by Tubular Bells.
He was doing it. He was doing a bit.
I did like the way they did the head twisting scene. I'm not gonna spoil what happens, but there's a moment where you're like, oh, are they gonna do some head twisting? But you don't know. There's the two girls, and you're like, are they both gonna get their head twisted?
Right.
And I really liked what ended up happening.
I thought they were going to do a thing where, like, they twist their heads and they're facing each other. They're just like, I don't know.
But I thought it was okay.
No, it was okay.
There were things that I liked.
I don't want to overstate that I thought it was great or something. It's just like, it's one of these pile-ons where, like, everyone's so psyched to talk about, like, no, I hated the new Exorcist movie.
Right.
And it was the same with, like, there was all these supposed reactions to the trailer coming out, which we saw in the theater, that was like, everyone was like, oh my God, when you found out that it was an Exorcist movie, my whole theater started bursting into laughter. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, that's just fake meme.
Yeah, the movie definitely didn't deserve all of the, like, oh, this is the shittiest thing ever that's out there right now.
There's so many shitty things out there. Like,
right.
Stuff sucks right now. It's like, it's very bad. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm grading too much on a curve and stuff. I want there to be new properties too. I don't want these legacy sequels. But at the same time, like, I don't think I would have ever seen Exorcist Believer if we weren't doing
a
podcast about New Hollywood and thinking, oh, this would be a great tie-in for The Exorcist. So
it's
maybe
true.
It's just like, maybe that proves that it is a stupid idea.
Because, like,
I like The Exorcist.
I've told a couple people, oh, I'm going to go see The Exorcist Believer, and they're like, oh, the second Exorcist. And I'm like, no, the fifth Exorcist.
There's 5? There's 4?
Oh
yeah, I guess
there's
right.
Exorcist 2, Exorcist 3, and then Exorcist Beginnings.
Was it Paul Schrader made that?
He started making it, and then I think he got kicked out, and somebody else took over. If I could be wrong about that. Did you know Blatty directed the third one?
Yeah.
This is final screenwriting and directing because it didn't go well. I think my favorite part about this new movie, Victor, the dad, at one point, he's trying to get his daughter, who's just started becoming possessed, to come for breakfast, and he's like, "Oh, I made my famous pancakes, and there's Rocky Road." And Sam, out of the corner of my eye, I just see Sam nodding in deep approval.
I fucking love Rocky Road. It's colder than other ice creams.
What?
I don't know.
No,
I can't explain it. No, it's like something about the way that the marshmallow interacts with the flavor of the ice cream. It makes it feel even colder.
That's crazy, and I don't need my ice cream to be colder.
Okay, well, I didn't think I did.
All right, so we had a fun time watching The Believer just because thinking about it in terms of comparing it to the original. Are we recommending
you to go see it? No.
Not really.
Not really at all.
No. But if you do, go watch the original immediately beforehand. You'll get a lot more out of that viewing.
It's true. Like, it is interesting how in conversation they are. I actually found that to be pretty satisfying in the new one.
I wrote a lot of notes.
Yeah.
Or I tried to, because we were in a dark theater, so my notes were kind of all over the place. It's really hard to write notes in the dark. But
yeah, I looked like I was possessed or something. But yeah, so the original movie, good.
I would say great, but not a masterpiece.
Not a masterpiece.
The original movie.
I guess I'm right. I guess I'm with you in that I probably would still prefer Rosemary's Baby. I think I prefer The Exorcist. I don't like the weird comedy in Rosemary's Baby. Comedy? You mean the old people?
No, it's just the scene is, in the end is just weirdly absurd. I don't like the absurdness.
Yeah, you want it to really deal with the real devil, the real problem of evil in the world. Yeah, I guess I would still probably go with Rosemary's Baby over The Exorcist.
But worth watching for sure.
Oh yeah, no, and I just gotta say, like, the production design and the costume design in this movie, and just the haircuts, but like the clothes that people wear. There's this scene where Chris is wearing like a nightgown that's like a halter top, and it looks so cool. And then she puts this beautiful robe that's black with white lining over the nightgown. I'm like, Jesus, this lady even goes to bed and she looks fabulous. Like, it's the costume design is really gorgeous. And yeah, I know that Friedkin fired the production designer early on and hired somebody else, somebody he'd worked with on multiple projects, and hired somebody else who did a wonderful job.
There's just something about the original, even with its flaws. There's just a quality about it. The scenes, especially early on in the movie, I just can't put my finger on it, but it elevates it, to use a word that is way overused nowadays. But I don't know.
It's effectively autumnal. It's a very autumnal film.
Super autumnal. Yeah. I just want to cozy up with a blanket.
It's a cozy movie in a way.
It really is.
Yeah.
Leaves blowing in the beginning, and is it Halloween?
So nice. Yeah, it's October, right?
Yeah, I think kids are in costumes at one point.
Right.
Yeah, I enjoyed this a lot.
Me too. Happy 50th anniversary
of The Exorcist.
To The Exorcist, and happy hunting,
Halloween,
devil. Happy Halloween. Yes.
Goodbye.
All right, that's our show. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe. Check us out on social media. Thank you to The Illuminator for our artwork. And remember, guys, we're a new podcast, so if you could leave a comment or just a like, that would really help us out. Thank you. Bye.